Initiating Marfoogle News.
Dex, proxy booting.
Did you just say booty?
No, Adam, I said booting.
Project Zephyr. Initiated. What is up, guys? That wasn't me. What is up, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We've got all of today's and the last few days' news loaded up for you on the only call-in show on YouTube. Okay, not really. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah. Marfoogle News.
Well. What is up, you folks? All right. So we're going to get down to business. If you've never been here before, my name is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News, home of the free land of... Okay, it's a call-in show on YouTube, and we're going to get right into some stuff. Obviously, we have not been on Monday or Tuesday or Sunday, in fact, or Saturday. So this is actually one of the longest times we've been off air. So there's a lot to catch up on. There's a lot of crazy things going on around the world, and we are going to cover that here. Dex, just to make sure that everybody can hear you, let's get a sound check on you.
Hello, Adam, I am here, and hello, Foogle Fam.
Welcome back. So, just so you know, Dex is screening calls tonight at 224-400-MARF, and the purpose of that, too, is you guys can actually load up articles or any kind of proof or anything. If you have a theory about any of the articles that we shed here, if you say that's 100% fact or that's 100% fiction, then you are actually able to call in and give what information you have over to Dex, and he has a live connection with me. That way we can show the rest of the Foogle family and everybody watching what is actually going on. With this being said, we've got tons and tons of stories here. We try to weed down to the very best of it. Now, there are plenty of things being said in mainstream. We try to filter that down and try to talk about what out of all of that is actually real. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into the news. Obviously, this one is called Asgardia. Elites say we're doomed, and I'm going to explain the reasoning behind that. We've actually talked about it several times. Asgardia is a space government, and they are actually being taken seriously now because they have done all the appropriate measures to start a government in space. They think that something is going to hit the world and basically destroy it, or we're going to destroy it ourselves, and that our only option will be to move to space. Now, this is nothing compared to what's actually happening down here on Earth. There are a ton of stories happening right now over in the Middle East and in other places as well. We've got crazy stories such as a shark getting bit by something so big, a 13-foot great white getting bit by something that they're like, what the heck is this? In fact, the O-Search agency is like, what's big enough to bite this? I don't know if it's a megalodon, but we are definitely going to look into it and tell you. Asteroid, there is a very prominent figure saying that there is 100% chance that we are going to be hit by something, and that will be the way that we find doom. We are going to be talking about immigrants. Obviously, there's a big story there. AI-operated ships. Cal Tech in Berkeley is to launch the nation's first statewide earthquake early warning system. And speaking of which, stormquakes. I don't know if we got that one in here. Now they're telling us that quakes can actually start from storms underwater. So plenty of stuff to go over. So I'm going to get into it. If you guys want to start calling, you feel free to do so. What's up to all the new folks here? As always, if you subscribe during the show, you will get a shout out. It looks like we have a bunch of new people, which we've actually gained about 700 people in the last couple days. Z Perfect, thank you for subscribing. 35 Carlos, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the fam. Gary Partain, D Rock, Killa One, Soul 7 Music, Terry Quarry, David Williams, Silky Boxers, Black Eyes for You. I hope not. Unique Titanium, Randy Kendrick, and Mr. Bees. Welcome to the fam. Thank you, Karen Dixon, Heaven's Calling, and Conquest for being the last ones out last time. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, now to get to business. This is actually quite interesting. I'm going to show you right here. It says, NASA solar storm warning. Another Carrington event will cost trillions in damage. Now, this is an article stating, it says this is actually stating, it says, on the morning of September 1st, 1859, amateur astronomer Richard Carrington sketched an unusual cluster of sunspots as our star erupted in a fierce flash. An unfathomable amount of energy stored in sun's magnetic field was released, propelling incredible amounts of energy on a collision course with Earth. It says Carrington had witnessed a solar flare, and the subsequent coronal mass ejection that would hit Earth 17 hours later resulted in a geomagnetic storm of such strength that it would become worldwide news. So the Carrington event ended up hitting Earth and knocking out everything. It says now, in a world increasingly reliant on technology, the consequences of a similar solar storm hitting would be far more damaging, according to Professor Abraham Loeb, chair of Harvard's astronomy department. So this is actually coming from the chair of Harvard's astronomy department. That's not somebody, that they've got reputations there to worry about. Professor Loeb told Express that it says a Carrington-type event would cost roughly $2 to $3 trillion, told in terms of infrastructure damage. This includes damage to global supply chains, communication satellites, electric power grids, and so forth. Quote, and of course, we rely on technology more and more as time goes on, so the economic damage would be even greater in the future. It says the sun has an 11 to 12 year cycle oscillating from solar minimum to solar maximum. And it says here, and we are starting to head towards the maximum, which will be reached in approximately 5.5 years. The frequency of prominences, it says the flare that we see on the sun's surface increase as we reach solar maximum. Now, these are very violent events where magnetic field lines cross each other each day, releasing huge amounts of energy, and the sun occasionally releases a blob of hot plasma, which can occasionally hit Earth. It says the last time this occurred, in 2014, a big eruption missed the Earth by only 9 days. If that would have hit, it could have knocked out everything. So what they are talking about this thing knocking down is virtually everything, everything electric, all the grids. I mean, this would literally wreak havoc on Earth. And it's not to scare you. This is something that has actually been, looming over us for a very long time. And unfortunately, we have actually, completely and utterly had our society and our planet rely on technology and these power grids. When this happened with the Carrington event, a lot of folks already lived off grid. I mean, there was, just an absolute ton of people that didn't, it didn't even faze them. As far as now, they say if our grid went down, that 90% of us would perish, and most of that is due to not being able to access fresh water. So this is a big deal. Now, we've talked about all sorts of things, including the Deagle report, which says that we are going to have this super dramatic population decrease. They say that we're going to basically decrease by 2/3, and then all of our allies, for some reason as well, decreasing by huge amounts. Now, even without Deagle, you've got the World Health Organization saying that that not an asteroid or not anything like that, or a Carrington or a solar event, they actually believe that we are going to be hit. In fact, not us, all the allies will be relatively be fine after it, but they think the World Health Organization says that there's going to be a pandemic. So it's like we have talked about the many things here, and because of it, people call us fear porn. But the object here is not to make you afraid. It's to talk about these subjects because they are taboo in public. In fact, people look at you strange if you even bring something up like this. I'm sure that every single person in this chat room or in this group has had at least one person, give them that look. When they mention something in the sky, if they see the trails behind the planes, they go, take a peek at that. And people look at you like you are absolutely nuts. The thing is we are all open-minded people that want to talk about these things. And if they are even a 1% chance, we want to be prepared for them. And you know what's crazy is the military and the government prepares for this all the time. They have contingency plans for absolutely everything. So why do we not? It's absolutely crazy to me to know that 90% of people are completely asleep to the risks that are posed to us and our families. And if you are the patriarch or the matriarch of your family, this is something that you should know and at least have in your playbook. So with that being said, it says Professor Loeb have studied the repercussions and ways of migrating another Carrington event. He told Express.co, our paper from 2 years ago took statistics obtained from NASA's Kepler satellite on 100,000 stars similar to the sun. Quote, if the equivalent of a Carrington event took place today, it would cause major damage to infrastructure that didn't exist in 1859. Now, in 1859, it knocked out all sorts of things. It says it was very likely there will be another Carrington event likely in the next century, as the previous one was 150 years ago. The damage would be even bigger today because of even more infrastructure. Now, before it even knocked out the primitive communication lines, all of the by-wire communication lines got knocked out during the Carrington event. So this is something that not only, this is an Express thing. Everybody goes, oh, well, Express is all sorts of those kind of things. The fact is that gentleman from Harvard has actually been talking to the White House. So they are very concerned about this, and it's something that they want to put, and when Express covers something, it almost takes it down a notch. People don't take it seriously because they consider it tabloid. It's almost like it's done on purpose that they talk about these extremely serious issues only on Express and things like this and things like my channel. Whereas our channel actually gives you the source of where we're going. So just to remind you guys, if you want to read this article or any of the other articles and you're new here, which I know we've got about 700 new folks, go to marfooglenews.com. You will see that when you go here, you'll see the thumbnail, which is the Asgardia elites say we're doomed, but are they right? And you can actually click on that on the website. And once you do, you will see down below that we have added every article right here. So even if you are watching this a month in advance, a month down the road or 2 years down the road, you can actually go back and see where we got this information, the source, everything. Or if we just hit a paragraph of it and we don't hit the rest, you can go back and read the whole thing. Or you can even have a second device and actually read this along with us. So, very nuts. Shark researchers are trying to figure out what a big 13-foot, what bit a 13-foot great white on the head. Once you see pictures of this thing, it's absolutely nuts. It says this would be an unnerving find as a scientist, capturing a large great white shark measuring around 13 feet, only to find it have a massive bite wound on its head, signaling that a much larger animal got to it first. Researchers with OSearch, a nonprofit that collects data on apex predators, recently came across the exact scenario off the coast of Nova Scotia. And now they are working out to find out what it was. It says, quote, it was clear that something had just grabbed his entire head, said Chris Fisher, founding chairman of OSearch, who told that to the media. It says the wounded fish that OSearch tagged and released measured approximately 12 feet 9 inches, or I'm sorry, exactly 12 foot 9 inches, and actually had 2 bites. One in the jaw area and one that had healed and scarred, and another afresh across the top of his head. Fisher added that anything that laid that bite mark had to be significantly bigger than 13 feet. Anything that can grab an animal like that by its head is pretty impressive. Now, once you see this shark, it's gigantic. I mean, if you put that into perspective, Dex, I don't know if you're there, but we're talking, that's like the size of a school bus, right? That's a small school bus.
Yeah, it's a pretty big shark and a pretty big bite.
Now, Karen Tromer says a bigger great white, possibly. That's the thing. You know, they've talked about all sorts of mythical creatures in the ocean and how deep it is, and some argue that the ocean is less discovered than our space outside of our Earth. We actually know more about space than we do about the bottom of the ocean. We aren't even to a 10% mark of discovering what's down there. So I've always believed there are certain animals that actually even, survive the Great Flood. I mean, even, you're talking about, crocodiles and alligators are like our modern day dinosaurs. There's several animals that kind of lasted through that remind us of the dinosaurs or so-called dinosaurs. And you think about it, if it was something that adapted to living in the ocean and we can't even go down to some of these depths, could there be a larger animal? Now, most people would say, oh, that's, hogwash. But for hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of years, we have had people out on the ocean saying that they've seen these huge, ginormous monsters. Now, the giant squid was said to be a myth up until just a few decades ago. In fact, when they found it, they were absolutely stunned. Some of them, in fact, they found longer or bigger dead ones than alive ones. In fact, I think it's only been like twice that they found, got footage of a live giant squid. And we're talking about longer than a school bus. I mean, these things are gigantic. And again, that was not thought to have survived. The cocantholynth is a fish. It's like a 3 or 4 foot fish that is literally, we have fossils of it from the dinosaur ages, and it was thought to be extinct. It survived as well. So as far as like a bigger shark, that very well could be. I don't get the people that are like, oh, that's just stupid, this and that. It's like, we don't have the oceans discovered. There could be a brand new species of animal that's taken advantage of the migration habits. Now, we've covered stories about how the sharks are coming closer to land, all sorts of things. Maybe that's because there's some sort of apex predator out in the ocean that's hunting them. Just a thought. I just thought that was kind of an interesting, poll there. And it says, OSearch said it tagged more than 400 animals in the past 12 years and found that the eastern seaboard is a super highway for great whites traveling between Nova Scotia and the Gulf of Mexico. The scientists have ventured a couple of guesses as how the shark got its scars. It says the first is that it's competing against other males to win the fin of a certain female shark, or it tried mating with a much larger female shark that left him with a sizable bite. Scientists also conceded that this shark may have gotten in the way of another animal going after a seal, but are actually hopeful it's one of the former scenarios, as they have been vigorously searching for the mating grounds of these apex predators, and what this bite may be is an important clue to those mating grounds are, or where they are. So I would love to hear your guys' your opinions on this. And again, I actually should read this last point. It says, in a much rather disturbing side note, the crew of OSearch did capture a 17-foot behemoth earlier this month that they were unable to tag before it escaped. Regardless, the find had the scientists fairly excited. So let's see here. I wanted to show you a picture of it. I don't think it loaded the picture. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this. In fact, I'll show you an image right now. It does look absolutely huge. Let's see. 12, Shark. Boom. A bunch of folks are actually covering this. Look at this. This is a giant shark. And then look at the bite marks on the top of its head. So when you look at it, so this is even if you look at the size of this shark, it looks much smaller than this. And then, but could it open wide? I know that their mouths open wide. See, this is a wide angle lens, so gives it, much more size to it. But it even looks like back here he got bit by something smaller. But again, the measurements of it, they said that one source said that it had to be at least a 22 to 23 foot shark, of that size to even come close to the size of this. So you can't really tell by this, but it goes all the way across, and that's about a 2.5 foot bite mark, which is absolutely nuts. Now, check this out. Strong storms can generate stormquakes. Now, I tweeted this out earlier, and what I said is, what are they going to come up with next? Or actually, I think my original quote is, what are they going to engineer next? It says, the shaking of the seafloor during a big storm can last for hours or even days. Hurricane Ike in 2008 and Hurricane Irene in 2011 produced stormquakes. During a storm season, hurricanes or nor'easters transfer energies into the ocean as strong as ocean waves. It says scientists discovered a phenomenon in which a strong storm causes seismic events in the seafloor, some of which are strong as magnitude 3.5 earthquakes. It says we're calling them stormquakes, said Florida State University atmospheric scientist Winston Fan, the lead author of the new study about them. It says during a storm season, hurricanes or nor'easters transfer energy into the ocean as strong ocean waves, and the waves interact with the solid earth, producing an intense seismic source activity, he said in a statement. Now, first off, do you guys is this something that no pun intended, kind of smells fishy? They're actually saying that waves can cause upwards of a 3.5 magnitude earthquake on the seafloor. I don't know how that would, I'm not a scientist, so if you have kind of how that would work, I would love for you to call in and kind of, even if it was the whole ocean moving, I kind of get it. But I mean, I'm trying to think of it in any kind of way. Like if you fill up a bathtub and slosh it around, it's not going to shake anything. I don't understand how they're saying it. It says the shaking of the seafloor during a big storm can last for hours or even days, according to the study, which was published this week in the journal Geophysical Research Letters. Also, this could be some sort of setup for having shaking down there. Are they doing something down there? And if somebody sees shaking, is that something they're going to go, oh, well, it's just a stormquake. I've never heard of a stormquake in my life, and apparently it's a new phenomenon. It says the quakes are fairly common, but they weren't noticed before because they were considered seismic background noise. They aren't dangerous. And the quote from Fan said, this is the last thing you need to worry about. Like, don't look over here. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. Keep walking. It says bomb cyclone. Fan and his colleagues studied seismic and oceanographic records from 2006 to 2019 and found a connection between strong storms and intense seismic activity near the edges of the continental shelves or ocean banks. Researchers found evidence of more than 10,000 stormquakes during those years offshore of New England, Florida, and in the Gulf of Mexico in the USA, as well as offshore of Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and British Columbia in Canada. I just thought it was funny. Nova Scotia's here. That's where they found that shark get bit. Maybe there's some sort of Godzilla down there. It says one example the researchers cited was Hurricane Bill, an Atlantic storm in 2009 that strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane and struck Newfoundland as a tropical storm when the hurricane arrived. Numerous seismic events were located off the New England and Nova Scotia coasts. So Nova Scotia keeps popping up. I don't know. It's super weird. I've never heard of a stormquake. Have you? Obviously, this is something that is brand new. Only here on Marfoogle News. Real quick, just want to say, Neil Nelson, thank you. Says, hi, Adam. Thank you. I appreciate that for the super chat. Trisha says, thanks, Marf. I appreciate you. JT, thank you for $20 super chat. That's totally not required. Thank you so much. And you can always write a message with that. And JT, again, thank you for the $1. And Susan Donahue, they have known this has been coming since the mid-50s. Dr. Robert Harrington, rest in peace. They have been preparing, just not for us. Put on the full armor of God. Now, I'm wondering if you're talking, so the whole Asgardia thing we're going to get to here in a second. I think that's why a lot of people are digging really deep into the budgets and what's going on. As I said before, we had a really, really awesome source tell us that all of the military branches are putting aside money for space reasons. And we're not talking about the Space Force, and it's not going towards the Space Force. It's going towards something that's for the space. That's what has been said. So I think it's really weird. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I still haven't gotten a single call about somebody, telling me why would all of these, military branches be putting kind of a side pot for something regarding space. And then we have all the missions I've told you about. If you're new here, we've talked about all of the missions that are trying to veer asteroids off course. They have... there was the Osiris Rex. They had, I can't think of the Japanese one. What was it? Not Benahara. I will think about it, and of course, I will get to it later. But again, there's a lot of these different missions, and Hammer, Hyper Asteroid Mitigation and Emergency Response Vehicle, which is essentially a nuke strapped onto a rocket. And then we even showed you that they just changed the laws to allow nuclear activity in space. So now we can take nuclear devices. Now, it specifically said in there, it didn't... Dex, do you remember that? We covered that it was, we could take nuclear devices into space. This was just recently. Do you remember that, Dex?
Yeah, it was a rocket payload that was designed to take basically a warhead or multiples up and then basically put them on the side of an asteroid.
And how recent was this? This was just like 3 weeks ago, right? I mean, this is super recent.
It's been talked about quite a bit because of all of the near-Earth objects that keep coming up in the news.
I don't know. It's very strange.
It is, and they're obviously getting us prepared for something here because it just keeps coming back up in the news.
And we're going to talk about Asgardia because that's the weirdest thing ever. You guys are going to be like, it sounds like a fictional film. In fact, I think Asgardia is like the name of something in... Isn't that from the movie, the Avengers? Isn't Asgardia the planet or something? I swear it's the name of that. Either way, we'll get to that here in a second. Vatican launches $110 click-to-pray wearable rosary. This is the most odd thing, and since I said that V word, it's probably going to start buffering here. It says the rosary is going mobile. The Vatican announced the launch of the click-to-pray e-rosary Wednesday. October is the month of the rosary, and it says the e-rosary is an app-driven device that can be worn as a bracelet. To activate it, all you have to do is make the sign of a cross, similar to how Catholics begin praying to praying the rosary. It says once activated, the wearer can choose between 3 different options to pray. There is the standard rosary, a contemplative rosary, or a thematic rosary, which will be updated every year. The device shows the user's progress throughout each prayer and keeps track of each rosary completed. The interactive device is a push from the church to reach tech-savvy millennials and Gen Z. This is nuts. Okay, first off, I can't even talk about the POPE because they have, they say whatever you can't, what is that Voltaire quote? Whoever you can't talk about is the bad guy or something like that. That's horrible paraphrase. But essentially, anything you can't talk about is usually true. And the POPE is somebody you can't even talk about on this platform without getting marked for deletion. It's nuts, or at least that's some people's opinions. Should say it like that too. As far as this new POPE, Pop with an E at the end, Mr. Pop E, there's been a lot of things over the last couple years that totally go 180, just a 180, a 360, a drunken fall down the floor away from traditional religion. It's absolutely nuts, the kinds of things that he has said. Also, the POPE, the head dude of the VAT itself, actually was at the Bilderberg Group, not this last year, but the year before that, I believe. Now, somebody can correct me on the year if it was 2 years ago or 1 year ago. Either way, that's super, super weird. I mean, this whole thing is just odd. Everything that's going on in the current day is just super weird. So, again, you can get yourself an e-rosary with a link below. No, I'm just kidding. The e-rosary is available to buy now for $110. That is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I hope none of you buy it. I could get a third party. I could get a third party doing that. And, sometimes you forget to pray. I know that a lot of people forget to pray. Something on your phone reminding you to pray. Like that makes sense. But it's actually coming from the church itself. That is what is totally, I don't even know what to use as a word for that. What do you use as a word for that? Is it disgusting? Is it, I don't even know what to say. You guys can fill in the blank there. And what word do you think would describe a e-rosary app-driven e-rosary that the money goes to the VAT? I'm super confused by that. By the way, somebody asked me what my neck tattoo is. I've shown it many times, but I understand there's a lot of new people. It is a koi fish, which is in no relation to CIA or anything else. Me and about 120 other people got it when I was working in glass blowing. So that is, and it's got some internal meaning, but not what people think. All right, so to go on, this I also tweeted out earlier, and I said that these guys aren't exactly diplomats, they're spies. Somebody actually responded, which was actually a pretty good response. I was trying to think of who that was. It says 3 U.S. diplomats detained near secret Russian military training ground. Now, this is also where they were going to be playing or doing tests for missiles, and they were detained. Why were 3 U.S. diplomats there? Well, honestly, I think that they were spies. And I said, yeah, right, diplomats. These guys were spies. And somebody responded, well, aren't all diplomats spies? Pretty good response, actually. It says 3 U.S. diplomats were removed from a train and detained Monday near a mysterious military site in northwestern Russia, where a deadly explosion and radiation leak took back in August, according to the officials. Russia's Interfax news agency reported that the 3 U.S. diplomats were removed from a train when it arrived in Severodvinsk, a city of 183,000. Now, here's where this gets crazy. Now, Dex, this was a good find. This is one that Dex, that I found, and then Dex actually posted. So, check this out. Do you guys remember that the one of 2 places that carried smallpox, Ebola, the bubonic plague, and anthrax, one of 2 places in the world that has smallpox, exploded out of nowhere? And some folks said that something may have escaped that lab. Now, that's a rumor. But the more you put into it, and then get this, then we covered within 2 weeks of that, smallpox, which has been eradicated since what, 1980, I think it was? Since 1980 or 82, it was eradicated. So that means it doesn't exist on Earth. And the only 2 places it exists are Atlanta where Mr. Timothy Cunningham, who disappeared, and found drowned, worked in Atlanta, Georgia, the CDC, and the actual, I can't remember. I think it was in Severodvinsk, in that place. I could be wrong. This Russian lab. Those were the only two places that the World Health Organization, remember the World Health Organization, was allowing to store smallpox. The U.S. is going to spend $2.8 billion, or it might have been trillion, I think it was billion, on the VIA nations for smallpox. Why? Why would you spend $2.8 billion within 2 weeks of this thing exploding on VIA nations for something that's eradicated? Sort of weird, right? But even weirder, it says that these guys were actually found near that and detained and arrested, and they actually said specifically near that place where the deadly explosion and radiation took place, which is, it's actually kind of kitty corner. So there was actually several events that have happened over the last couple months regarding the explosion in the lab, explosion where radiation leaked, all sorts of weird things have been going on. Mind you, also you had the Russian submarine that was down in the ocean that caught fire, and about, I think, several Russian sailors. This was a top secret sub that nobody knows anything about except for kind of the general layout of it. Top secret science sub ended up catching fire, and then at the funerals of these men, they said that they avoided a planetary catastrophe. See, I'm not forgetting anything, because I know some of those things are going to come back in later. And as I've been doing this almost 2 years now, I have noticed 6 months, a year and a half will go by, and then you get the rest of the story. That's why we archive all this, so you can go back a year ago and actually see what I'm talking about. We had all sorts of weird things go on with US and Russia, with the spies being poisoned, all this kind of stuff. But what we don't know is what it's connected to. What if there was some sort of huge plot that kind of came and went? These things happen. And what people don't realize is that the movies may be fiction, but in real life, it is actually stranger than fiction. So with this, it says the U.S. State Department confirmed to Fox News that the diplomats were taken off the train and were in the country on official travel after properly filling travel with the Russian Defense Ministry. It says, quote, the American diplomats were on an official travel and had properly notified Russian authorities of their travel, a State Department spokesman told Fox. It says Russian broadcaster REN TV reported that the three Americans did not present documents for staying in Severodvinsk, which is a city located in a list of territories that are under regulation for visits by foreign citizens. Now, this is right next to the Neonoska missile test site. So they're right here. It says 3 U.S. diplomats were removed from a train and detained Monday after arriving in the city of Severodvinsk, located near a secret military testing site where a deadly explosion and radiation leak took place in August. Now, you should remember, over here is where the lab is, over here is where the radiation leak, and then, of course, right here is where these U.S. diplomats were removed. Now, some actually said back when this missile test, which now, people believe that this was some sort of hypersonic nuke test, where this all happened, there was a radiation spike and that was registered from space. So all this stuff that was going on, some said back then that it was a possible sabotage by none other than us. So a lot of this stuff is kind of coming together for most. We don't know anything for sure, but that's why we are here as a platform, to give anybody the mic and have them come in and tell us what is going on with all this. Because increasingly, more and more of us are seeing that we are headed down a crazy road. Now, also the video, I don't know if I loaded it, Dex. I'm going to try to see if I have that. I wanted to show you a video from yesterday. I want to say 2 helicopters flew over me. So this is actually unlisted on my channel. I posted this yesterday. I wanted to show you this because for the first time, I've seen Apache helicopters. I saw 6 all fully loaded with their missiles. Now I'm gonna full screen this so you can see this. And excuse my language, I was really shocked at how low they were. You cannot tell on the video how low they are, but we could feel the wind. That's how low these things were. The trees felt the wind. I mean, these things are powerful, they're strong. So let me show you. Just to show you right here, you can see the missiles. Let me undo the full screen so I can zoom in on this. Now, most of the training, when you see these Dex, do you know if those were Apaches, right? It's kind of weird from this angle, but when you see them from the front.
Yeah, I can't confirm from this angle, but yeah, you can definitely see the payload on them.
I've always seen them without the payload. I've always seen them with just the little 2 things jetting out. Now, if you are somebody who is in the Air Force and you know all about these, then please, feel free to speak up. But these I could see with my naked eye, and of course, this is 4K on a phone. I wonder if I can actually change it to. Yeah, it's at 2160, 60 frames, so 4K, 60 frames, and man. What the? It was intense, and so that was I couldn't get my phone quick enough for the first 4, and all of them had the missiles. I mean, it was literally just nuts. What the? Sorry. Oh, and I was shocked at how low they are. You can't tell because the background is the clouds, but they are probably a good 125 feet off the ground. I mean, I've never felt the wind of a helicopter fly above me. They were super low, which just, it freaked us out. That's the same place we were at. We were actually at this same location near a Fred Meyer when the lightning storm hit. And it was just super weird that we ended up, at the same place for both of these events. And we're like, dude, we just got to stop coming to this Fred Meyer. And they were not going towards any base. They weren't going towards any airfield. I downloaded a freaking compass app to be like, no, what's over there? I looked at the map. I'm like, nothing is going that way. And they were headed towards the water. I just thought it was weird. Thought I would show you. We've received reports up till about 6 months ago. We had, there was that big event, and I covered this on my channel, where all over the country, people sent in videos at the same time of these helicopters just like this, mobilizing and doing this mass drill thing. Then we found out, and this is what I'm talking about. So somebody is in California, somebody is in, Montana, Florida, and New York, and all 4 places at the exact same time. So say 3:03 p.m., all took off and started doing drills. Like, what situation, I guess, would we have the entire country's Apaches or helicopters, get up and do the drills at the same time? That's what happened 6 months ago, and it was super weird. It was like they were practicing. This was around the same time that LA was picking people off of the top of buildings, where they did the weird radiation leak drill. We had HDS doing these weird radiation drills all over the country. Just about a month ago, and 3 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago, we had all these stories about them doing HDS, these drills, drilling for something chemical coming. And I've shown you guys proof. I've shown you the articles. I've shown you the documents. I've shown you the actual budget, the drills that were going on above Washington, D.C. with the helicopters. So whatever is going on in helicopter world, they are drilling massively, and it's not cheap to run those things. It's not like running a news helicopter. Those things are expensive, and just letting you think about it. What is going on? I would love to know. That's why we are here to try to collect as much as we can. All right. Now, this is our main story tonight, and I will tell you, I think it is more important than most people think because of the list of people that are involved. Now, what we are talking about is Asgardia. Asgardia is a proposed city in space, or a world in space, really, and these folks have set up a government, and they are actually doing it legally. I mean, so by the way, somebody responded to my tweet earlier about Asgardia, and they said, I said that the elites are doing this, and he's like, well, I'm not an elite, and I filled out some simple paperwork online, and I became a citizen of Asgardia. I think there's a big difference. Now, people, I would love to know if the person who said that on Twitter, did you pay to be a part of it? So are they taking, all these people's monies to register for it? I don't believe it's a free thing. If it is, please correct me. But these folks are all putting towards this Asgardia thing, and they're getting a huge budget from it. We're talking about serious names. Dex, do you remember we had kind of a list of all the names?
I remember we talked about Asgardia before, and there was some profiled names on there.
Hold on, I just wanted to fix my sound here real quick. I thought it was weird.
I don't remember the price tag, though, to join, but it did seem like,
It did cost money. It cost money to do it.
It seemed like there was some hurdle to get through.
So the person that I talked to, if you guys, please let me know if the sound sounds any worse than it just did. I just fixed something that should have been fixed from the beginning. I knew that it looked all right. And then Just Another Zen says, yes, it does have a fee to join. If you are a general, if you're a general citizen and you're paying to be a part of that thing, you're putting money towards something you don't know if they'll actually take you with. If just hypothetically, and we try to be really open-minded here, and you guys should be too. We try to hear out everybody's different theories on things. Do you think that the average citizen that signed up, if there was a real disaster, do you think they would take you with because you're $100, sign-in fee or whatever? I highly doubt it. I don't, that's why I titled this the way it is. Is there going to be space enough for all of us, right? It says, asteroid danger, 100% certainty of impact warns space expert. It says, we need to leave Earth. Now, there's been plenty of talk about this over, the last year, and people are really, really scared about it. It says a killer asteroid 66 million years ago wiped out the dinosaur and 2/3 of all life on Earth. Unfortunately, there was no defensive measures in place to predict exactly when or where another such killer rock would strike. Asteroid trackers estimate such events happen on a scale of millions of years in between hits. It says, but one space expert fears the certainty of a cataclysm is too high to be ignored indefinitely. Lembit Opik, the chairman of parliament for the space nation Asgardia, told Express.q, humanity's only option for survival is to leave the planet. Mr. Opik said, quote, we do have to protect the Earth, and that's because the chances of an impact, as I've said before, are large enough to wipe out the human race and most other forms of life. It's essentially 100%. Quote, so we're looking out at the threats, not in at them. And that is a fundamental element in our value system. So these people are saying, by the way, these are some of the smartest people in the world. If you see the list of people that are now citizens and some of the people that are putting a ton more money than, say, whatever, a civilian puts on their little entry fee, they are putting millions and millions of dollars into this. So they are investing a ton of money. And the thing that scares me is the list of people that are involved with government, that are former, ministers, that are former defense ministers that are in the Asgardia sign-up list. So these are people in the know that are signing up for this space city. And the reason for it is because they believe that the Earth is going to be destroyed. Now, just hypothetically, open your mind to the fact, look at everything that we have had coming in and through mainstream and through everything, through predictive programming, that something is going to happen to Earth. They keep talking about climate change destroying us in 12 years. We also have the Apophis saying that is going to, they aren't 100% clear about anything. In fact, just a couple months ago, there was an asteroid that went over Jamaica and they said, oh, it will go right by us. It ended up getting sucked in and hit. So they don't know. And hypothetically, what if we were headed towards the end of the world? What if the guy holding the cardboard sign saying the end is nigh was actually correct? It's something to think about. And I know that some of the religious folks here, my fellow Christians, some of them believe that, that we're going to have the rapture before or after this happens. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. Even if you're not religious, then you should be following things like this, because these are prominent figures that are going to Asgardia and signing up. They have a parliament set up. They have a whole government system. They have contingency plans. And they're even in talks about making spaceships for just them. So these folks, this is like straight out of a movie. Only this isn't like crazy wackos that, meet up in alien costumes and, LARP in Las Vegas. No offense to you guys either. But these are prominent politicians and figures in the know in very high places in government. Some of the names on that list are classified out. I want to know who the hell those are. Who is at the very top that is part of this Asgardia thing, right? It says the late Professor Stephen Hawking, whom I was honored to know, said that we have to be able to live off Earth, otherwise extinction is an inevitability. Because if you think about it, it is, if we accept standard facts or everything we've learned up until now, something could hit Earth. If you believe we are a ball floating through space, or if you believe we're flat Earth, whatever it may be, if it's a flat Earth and that we're in a dome and we're on some alien's coffee table, maybe they're setting us up to, throw a pebble at us or something. Whichever way you look at it, something is coming in the eyes of many. What do you guys think? And that's why I say, please call in at 224-400-MARF right after the news is done and give us your opinion. How do you think that we would end our own civilization? It's a serious topic, and it's a taboo topic. People look at you like you are the guy, the homeless gentleman with mental problems on the side, on the corner. That's how they look at this. Dex, what do you think? Out of all the things, and I'm sure people wonder what we think is the most likely end of the world scenario. What do you think the end of the world would look like?
Well, I mean, we've got the what the Bible tells us, and we can go by that. But we also, when we think about the different things that sort of show up from in the Bible, and looking at catastrophes, whether it's great floods or fire from the sky, I think of asteroids. I think of things like that actually impacting. And if you look at how many objects that are actually out there, that, or at least if they're reporting are out there, then that's a very likely scenario. As far as how you would envision translating what we understand the end of the world could look like. And so seeing that type of thing happen, seeing some sort of change in the magnetic the magnetic poles and or some sort of serious shifting in tectonic plates around the world, causing a lot of great disruption. What we think of today is just a harmonious balance that's on Earth.
So, it's a good thing you brought up the magnetic pole shift. Everybody is talking about it right now, especially in our community, because there's a lot of people making videos about it. There's a lot of weird things going on in the sea. There's a lot of animals that are behaving oddly. I mean, it's like straight out of if there was one, a Stephen King film about the end of the world. I wonder if he has wrote a book about that. Like, he's wrote so many dang books about, different stuff. But as far as, everything that's happening, the mass die-offs, what they call climate change, and who knows, what about that is true and what about's not. They couldn't completely convince all these people about climate change if there wasn't a part truth. Here's what people do to convince people. And I actually have a lot of experience with this. Say they'll take one little fact and then they will pull and stretch that all the way out. They will add things onto it. But when you have that little tiny fact at the beginning, people believe all of the rest because it all is attached from an original truth that they know that they can see. And I think that they've done this with partly with climate change, and that's just my personal opinion. And most think that, one, it's a hoax, or two, they think that it's something to direct us into something new. It's something to scare us into kind of line. It's like herding cattle. You have sheepdog, or herding sheep that's a perfect analogy too. Sheepdogs kind of run around barking and getting these sheep to all kind of cull together. And that is actually how a lot of the legacy media acts. They scare us with it and they herd us together and get us all on the same mindset. If you take after September 2001, we were all in that same mindset. If you guys remember, after that horrible day that changed the world, changed everything, the Patriot Act, NSA, everybody. We were all in that same mindset for a long time. I mean, it was a good year. People had flags on their cars. They had flags on their, on their hats. They had flags on their backs. They had flags on their toilet paper. They had flags everywhere. People were red in the eyes. They had blood in their eyes. They wanted revenge. They wanted to take people out. And part of that was legacy media just playing it over and over and over and over and over. I don't know if you remember, but that was almost towards the end of the repetitive life cycle of the news. I don't know. You guys probably all remember, and Dex, you probably remember, the news would play a story for 24 hours, 7 days a week for weeks on end. They would cover every little facet of it. They kind of cut down on that. Did they not?
Yeah, we would see it over and over again.
So all they have to do is get us all thinking the same way. And when you feel like you are thinking just like everybody else, you should almost step back and go, should I be thinking this? That's what I think about anything, including things you see on this show. If anything goes all towards one thing, step back and say, well, I try to do the same thing. I try to say, well, all these other people believe this. Does that mean I should believe it? Or should I look for myself? That's a great point to be made. I need to see the results for myself, not just believe what people say. But when you get reliable people or somebody with a kind face and they say it, or somebody who, says something, then people believe it. They go, oh, well, he says it and he probably did his research. That's not how we should do it, but that's how we do it. If you look, they'll have an expert on, Cracked Out News Network, and they will have an expert that's in that field and then give a very biased report on it. And you'll go, yeah, they've got experts. Most of the people that are spouting stuff about climate change, they have a couple nuggets that they heard on the news that was repeated over and over again. Same with anything, really. The people that hate our current president, they have a couple of nuggets that they've heard over and over and over, but they don't actually know. You'll say, oh, well, why is that? They'll be stumped. There's plenty of YouTube videos on both sides. You could even go up to people and be like, oh, well, did Mr. T-Man, Commander-in-Chief, he's so horrible. He had that charity over in Haiti that took all that money. And they'll go, yeah, he did. And you go, oh, wait, no, that was Hillary. Oh, I didn't know that. Because people don't actually know most of this stuff for themselves. So I guess the point I'm getting to is anytime that you are pointed and everyone is pointed in the same direction, you should probably be looking the other way. That's why we talk about so many different things here. It's some crazy stuff for sure. As far as Asgardia goes, though, as far as this, it's not so much a meme anymore. There's people taking it seriously. What do you guys think? Do you think that they are... do you think they're in the know? Do you think they know something that we don't? Would love to hear your opinion. Surge. Ken Cuccinelli cites 22 million. And by the way, illegal immigrants, which you can't say in certain parts of New York anymore, nearly twice previous tally. President T-Man's top immigration spokesman on Wednesday said that there are potentially 22 million illegal immigrants inside the United States, nearly twice the estimate regularly cited. Ken Cuccinelli, the acting director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which handles the legal immigration process, said that the number comes from a study done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And said that the study put the number at 22.1 million people. The number typically cited is 11 million to 13 million illegal immigrants in the country. I think it's actually higher than all of that. I think it's higher than 22. Dex, I don't know if you agree, but I think there's far too many. I mean, they're in every single city. I don't understand how that number is even 22.
We go from 11 to 22. Next week, it's going to be 30. Yeah.
I don't get it. If you do the math on how many people are coming in every day, every month, and those are just the ones we know about, there's no way it's at 22. And, they're saying that 22 is actually closer to the real number, right? The said number is 11 million. There are roughly 370 million people in the United States. Do you think, what percentage of that, of million? What would 20 out of 370 be? I don't know what percentage that would be. That's a very low percentage would be illegal immigrants. I think it's much higher. Do you guys agree? Press 1 if you agree that it's higher than 22.1 million. Press 2 if you think that they're over-exaggerating. I bet you'll see a lot of people press 1. Let's see here. And again, if you want to read the rest of that article, you can go to marfooglenews.com and take a peek at it. AI-operated ship that's autonomously avoids ocean hazards to cross Atlantic. So, by the way, and I took video of this and I didn't upload it. On this show, we talk about it constantly about how folks are getting replaced by machines. We've talked about every kind of career you can think of from, what was it? Well, first off, shipping, any kind of warehouse job is now being replaced by robots, AI-driven robots. You're talking about drivers, including truck drivers. They are going to have driverless trucks. That is not only a new thing, it is now getting to the point where the truckers, some of these unions are saying, hell no, we won't go. Pilots, we just recently covered that they now have a AI pilot. And we're not talking about autopilot. We're talking about an actual machine that they strap in the pilot's seat, and it never needs a day off, and it is better than a human pilot. I guess that's an opinion, right? We've talked about construction jobs, welders being replaced by an arc welding AI robot. We're talking about the next one. I said plumbing wasn't a thing. Apparently, there is a new robot that can do all plumbing jobs, and it will actually be able to go in a truck, be deployed to a house. It will come down a ramp off of the back of a truck, go in your house, and deal with your plumbing issues, even advanced plumbing issues. It has robotic arms. It's in the works. In fact, I said that, everything except for the kitchen sink and plumbing, right? Nope, that's being taken. Now, just the other day in that same Fred Meyer, I was inside and this thing comes flying by me and almost runs over my foot. Now, I'm sure all of you have been in a store late at night or 11 and you've got some guy polishing the floors. And he's got that, looks like a big old swirly mop thing, and it's they're pushing it around, polishing the laminated floors, and they're just going over it. Whizzing by me, it looked like almost a ride-on mower. It had a seat for a human being, but it had 2 yellow straps across the side of it. In fact, I probably can find a self-driving floor polisher, which just replaced someone's job. This is it, actually. This is it. Walmart now has robot janitors scrubbing their floors. I was in a Fred Meyer, which is not owned by the same people, but Walmart is usually the testing grounds for this kind of stuff. So just to show you real quick, if it will go without freezing up on me, some of these websites. By the way, if you're new here too, just know we actually take the time to pull all these articles out. That's why there's no ads in them usually, but sometimes we'll have to pull something up. Let's see here. That's weird. Boom, boom. Totally disappeared here. Boom, boom. This is why I hate the internet. So this was the machine. Only this one was like green. And it polishes the floors and it does everything a human can do. That just replaced someone's probably full-time job. They would go from store to store doing this. And it even had a play and pause button on the back. So it was, I think it's absolutely disgusting that all of these jobs are getting taken by machines. What kind of jobs are we supposed to have in 10 years from now? So just to get back to what I'm talking about, AI operated ship. So if you're in the naval field of careers, these are all going to be taken. Say you're a captain of a boat. That's one of the few jobs or careers left that actually makes good money, along with piloting. If you're a pilot, you're not a millionaire, but you certainly have enough money to possibly buy a house if you do your budget right. See, what it's doing is it's taking all these different fields, which can be a reputable career, something that you can earn enough money to actually provide for your family, provide a home, and actually be middle class. You know, when they talk about the destruction of middle class, they're talking about the absolute, vaporizing of the middle class. Every single job that you can think of that's even in the lower or mid field is getting replaced. I've told many people my story of my friend who worked at a tech company. His entire job was to code programs to replace his friends and coworkers. And he would go there and he had lunch with 7 people. They would all hang out every day. And then his job, it got to the point where he ended up quitting because it was 6 people at lunch. And then it was at 5 people at lunch. And then it was 4 people at lunch. His job was literally to get rid of his friends' positions. He would create algorithms and create programs to do what their position was. And this is what every tech company is doing. So in the end, these people are not going to have jobs. Nobody is. Think of a job that's safe from this. I would love to hear it. because I don't think there is one anymore. It says, an unmanned, fully autonomous vessel will be one of the first ever to cross the Atlantic Ocean. It has been announced. Computer giants IBM revealed today that they are creating a state-of-the-art Mayflower autonomous ship, or a MASS, with the hope of it setting sail in September 2020 to mark the 4th centenary of the original Mayflower voyage. It will use IBM's servers, AI, cloud, and edge computing technologies to navigate and avoid ocean hazards from Plymouth, England to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and U.S. If successful, MASS will be one of the first self-navigating, full-sized vessels to cross the Atlantic Oceans and open the door to a new era of autonomous research ships. Wow. It says a short animation shows what the impressive vessel will look like as it makes the 3,125-mile journey. Several solar panels can be seen at the top of the vessel, giving its power. So this is what it looks like, some sort of catamaran type thing, and it doesn't need any people on it. So they could have any kind of, and you know that Russia and all these other guys have these too. It's just crazy where we are. Do you remember when something like this was in a comic book as like some sort of futuristic, future Fifth Element world? This is now. It's absolutely crazy. This is very interesting. Cal OES UC Berkeley to launch nation's first statewide earthquake early warning system. Out of California is set to unveil the nation's first statewide earthquake early warning system Thursday on the 30th anniversary of the deadly Loma Prieta earthquake. The California Earthquake Early Warning System will marry a new smartphone application with traditional alert and warning delivery methods such as wireless emergency alerts, or the WEAs. The California Governor's Office of Emergency Services said, the system uses ground motion sensors from across the state to detect earthquakes before humans can feel them and will notify Californians so they can drop, cover, and hold on in advance of an earthquake. The system will be unveiled Thursday at a press conference with Cal OES and University of California, Berkeley, and the United States Geological Survey, State Senator Jerry Hearl, and others at the former eastern approach of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Area in Oakland. So this is Shake Alert, I think it was called. I don't know why they didn't say the name in this. Is this the same thing, Dex? I think because we've talked about Shake Alert and how it was coming, it would base it on some sort of.
I think it's the same thing, but
it's based on tremors. I think
they didn't bring up that. Yeah, they didn't bring up that name, so I'm wondering if there's competing alert systems. Maybe there's different models they're using, but yeah, I think it's probably the same thing.
Dr. J.
Shake Alert they were using for testing, right? They didn't give it to the public.
Well, no. Yeah, well, so Dr. J-Man says, interesting predicting microquakes, which is kind of correct as far as the shake alerts. Do you remember they went out before that last one in Ridgecrest? They actually said that the shake alert worked, but it didn't go out to the public. It went out to officials. Do you remember that?
Right. Because it was in testing. They didn't release it to the public. They only wanted it to. They were still testing it, I guess. They didn't want everybody to have it. Probably they didn't want false alerts, right? They were trying to make sure it was legit.
Well, that Ridgecrest was a very odd one. And, and it worked, but it didn't go to the normal people. Luckily, nobody died as part of that. If a bunch of people died and they were able to say that they could have prevented it or could have predicted it, that would have been messed up. The Ridgecrest was a giant earthquake, but apparently didn't, not that much damage. Well, I shouldn't say that. They say that the crazy weapons testing base that it was basically centered right under had at least $100 million of damage, which was kind of funny because we showed you how the money for that got approved like within 2 or 3 days. It was like, boom, They approved $100 million rebuilding budget or whatever. It didn't destroy it, by the way. If you looked at the buildings, they looked fine. Obviously, after 7.0, there's going to be some, cracks here and there or some movement under the foundation or whatever. But they got $100 million for what? That quick. When they said it wasn't even that bad, or at least people that were actually on base or in that community, because it's more of an area, right? The people that lived there that called into our show that day, they said that it was just weird because it wasn't the kind of damage earthquake that you would expect. And then we saw $100 million go to it. It had some questioning whether, we've talked about how they admitted they can control earthquakes. If you think that sounds crazy, go look back. We actually have treaties with other countries that state we are not going to use weather modification or earthquake modification, because originally they said that they were not able to control stopping it. So they can actually trigger earthquakes. We know this for a fact. They've said it, and they consider it a WMD, or a weapon of mass destruction. So they won't do it. That's the treaty that we had. But just like the other long-range treaty we had, the INF treaty, who's to say that everybody is following it? That's what my thought is, and that's why I say I just ask people to keep open-minded about this kind of stuff. If they absolutely have admitted in the past and have a treaty against it, that means they can not only control earthquakes, and wouldn't it make sense that it was triggered right under a weapons testing base? But they can also trigger weather events all over the world. And who's to say that some of our worst weather events here are not triggered by some of our enemies in some sort of secret black ops operation? Which, by the way, just to clarify, today's intro, what is it called? Zephyr. The reason for that intro is we've basically decided anytime we hear some just absolutely stupendously ridiculous rumor about ourselves, we're going to put it into our intro banter. Dex, I wanted to ask you, so Zephyr is a operation regarding Linux. Is that right? Or Linux?
Adam, sorry, I was on the phone. It's some sort of real-time operating system that's being built by a conglomerate of lots of tech companies to basically make, I guess it's probably for Internet of Things. It's like for small devices to have a operating system that they can use.
So like Skynet stuff, right?
It's called Project Zephyr, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, I hadn't even heard of it until today because I hadn't really looked into that. It's not my forte.
Well, somebody said that we were a part of it, and I was pretty amazed, actually. Some of the things I hear, being in this niche and us doing this kind of stuff, it's just crazy the amount of heat you get for doing news. We are trying to give people a platform so everyone can speak their mind. We do not talk badly about each other. We don't talk badly about others, and I'm glad to see that a lot of people are doing this truce. I mean, there's kind of an elephant in the room. People say, well, why don't you address all this drama? Because that only brings more people into it. And on top of that, that's not what we are. Like, people they say sides, there shouldn't be sides, but people on both sides they keep angering each other. They keep going for the throat on each other. And it's super annoying. Like, everybody needs to stop all the drama. The truth, or whatever you want to call it, prepper, this whole community needs to heal, come back together, and stop all this childish fighting. People are pointing fingers, people are this. I know there's a good percentage of you who have heard this or heard that. We're part of a truther community, but nobody actually looks and backs things up. That's what I think is crazy. We are the one place that is actually backing stuff up. People gave us crap about Hot Musket. Hot Musket was a caller. And that's why we actually have, we actually started this after that because we didn't want to get in trouble with the government. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial. And the views of the callers can differ considerably. We didn't want to get, arrested by government agents. If you guys didn't know this, Hot Musket was a gentleman who called in, said he was on, baby leave, this and that, said he was called back after a few days in, right? It's very hard to get or leave or whatever it was called. And they said that he got called in. He sent in paperwork, which people debunked as a, what do you call it? A template. But the template's font didn't even match the one that he had. And if you search a number, you're going to get it. If you say military number, this and that, and search back through Google, there's millions of templates, there's millions of real documents, you are going to find it. It's looking specifically for that number. So it's going to find a military template years back, and it was like 1990, whatever it was. They had that number, and it matched. Either way, that went big all over the internet. The actual Pentagon responded to that. And my argument on that is, why in the hell would the actual Pentagon spokesman, Colonel Baldanza, personally respond and have Hal Turner take it off his website? Hal Turner, who is somebody who had been in prison, actually said, I wasn't anywhere near it. It was an intern. It was an accident. We didn't have anything to do with it. Whoever made that up, it's absolutely insane. They said that the Pentagon said it was fake. So the Pentagon actually responded to a little call-in show like this, and people are saying it's fake. Mind you, Operation Faithful Patriot happened just a month later, which was thousands of troops at the border. At the time, it was so heated, the debate, and with T-Man and everything else, they did not want word getting out that they were deploying American soldiers on our border. And we broke that first, and people said that they fake this and fake that. That's BS. Either way, it wasn't our stuff. All we did was share an interesting call, and because of it we don't know what's going to go viral. Everybody talked about it, and you know why? Because it had everything there. I mean, it was freaky. People thought hot musket. They were thinking Civil War because that's the last time you heard of a musket. And hot people, the document supposedly had the guy on one of those, what do you call it? ADS system, so active denial system trucks. And it actually makes sense. Think about it. Back then we had all these caravans of people coming. If they put an active denial system vehicle there, you've got 200 people running towards you. What would you use? You can't mow them down without some huge, worldwide, debate and huge worldwide, we would go to war with somebody if we mowed down 200 people coming into our border. But the ADS system, that's smart. It's non-lethal and it makes them run the opposite way. It makes their skin burn. It's 5G technology, essentially. But that, I mean, I don't even know why somebody would make up that. And then, boom, you had the border buzzing with National Guard and troops. So it just blows my mind, the kind of stuff they say. But just know, if you're watching this channel is going to keep and continually getting attacked because we are sharing everything and anything, and we let anybody and everybody call in and say their piece. And that is exactly why we do that warning. So I don't ask you to believe anything we do on the show. I ask you to be open-minded, and I ask you to figure out stuff for yourself. And if you hear something, do your own research. That's simple as that. Because man, oh man, we are heading into some scary times, you guys. I have to do this show the way it is to bring new people in. If you're new, you probably came in because it looks nice. It sounds nice. It's sometimes funny. We cover topics no one ever covers. And I'm sorry that I have to address this tonight, but it's like there's been this like internal war between the Foogle family and people, everybody else. The more stuff that you bring to it, the more nasty it gets. And it's time after time proven itself. Somebody else does a video, it comes back to me. I get all the hate because I'm the main channel and I'm the big leader, right? I'm not a leader. I do a show and everybody else does their own shows. But when you insult this person and this person, it just keeps going back and forth. So I'm glad to see that a bunch of people are trying to do a truce and trying to get this all done because it's really a headache. Like, come on, grow up, people. It's just insane. And also I will say this. There's been a lot of things said about myself, Dex, everybody that helps this show. And it's like, if you think about it with logic, you're like, what is the motive here? What is the end game? Where is this going? Is it to take down the channel? Who would want to take down a channel that is covering this much stuff? Sometimes it makes me think like back to the very beginning, like sort of infiltration style. It's really quite crazy to think about. So with that being said, there are a couple more stories here, and then we're going to get to the phones where we do that notice. This says that the Kurds say Islamic State fighters are launching attacks amid the Turk invasion. Now, if I say something different and you are new here, just know that there are some words that trigger Mr. Al rhythm. And Mr. Al rhythm then takes us out of the sea jested. With the SDF distracted by the Turkish invasion, emboldened ISIS sleeper cells have upped their attack on the force. It says most recently near the Al-Hol camp, where tens of thousands of ISIS families and supporters are being held as detainees, staged riots inside the camp. Militants targeted a vehicle belonging to the SDF in the vicinity of the camp on Sunday, killing and injuring a number of fighters. The ISIS propaganda channel, Nashiri News, via messaging app Telegram, said on Monday that, quote, soldiers of the caliphate targeted a vehicle of the apostate, don't know if I'm saying that right, referring to SDF forces with an improvised explosive device or an ID near the grain silo in Al-Hol town, killing and injuring those inside the vehicle. The SDF called on the international community to shoulder its responsibility by repatriating over 2,000 foreign fighters currently detained in northern Syria. Just to show you this super filtered word right there. But has received no answers. Dozens of children born to ISIS family have been taken back. But European countries appear to be unprepared to take responsibility for their adults. Sounds familiar. According to the report, ISIS is also, quote, conducting a sophisticated campaign of intimidation and assassination of individuals like heads of villages who are the eyes and ears of the SDF in Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa provinces. The Kurdish media reported an Islamic State media statement claiming responsibility for one such political assassination in Deir ez-Zor. I'm saying that, I hope, right. Ruda cited a Monday article in Foreign Policy that quoted two anonymous U.S. officials said that Turkey's Syrian allies are deliberately releasing detainees affiliated with the Islamic State from unguarded prisons. Now, we showed you that. Dex, if you're off the phone here, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we showed you the video just last week of them bombing the prison with these really, really dangerous or supposedly dangerous ISIS guys. They bombed a part of it so they could escape. And they said, right, how many did they say escaped? 5?
Well, in that one incident, they said 5. But, you know, it's funny because before the troops were invading, it was like, oh, well, this is what we're scared of. They're going to come in and tear down or open up and unlock the prisons, and people are going to get out, bad people. But then later they said, oh, well, it looks like they're shelling near it. And then the next day it's like, oh, they got out and we have video. So now here we are, they're out, and we have to deal with that. So. And
we knew it, and
they told us it was coming.
Oh, and they did. Remember, we talked about it 2 days before it happened, and then it happened. Or was it 2 days or 1 day? It was 3 days.
Yeah, we basically had a day's notice on each thing. Oh, it's going to happen, and then it started, and then, you know, well, maybe they'll actually get out, and then sure enough, they did.
That was
exactly
absolutely crazy. And that's again, and that, you know what? You know why we have such an advantage? You know why we're busting out stories before the mainstream? You guys are the main reason for this. We spend a lot of time taking in information from you guys, and we have to vet it. We do our research, and if we try not to back anything that we can't find from, different sources. But some of the information that you guys have given us has put us ahead of the mainstream media. If you're new or you haven't watched this the whole time, not every episode is full of just crazy news. Sometimes our callers are not, they're not the most stupendous or whatever. It's always different. It's always new. It's always somebody's opinion. But some of the calls over the past, we didn't even know. I mean, oh my gosh, I almost want to put together a combination of all the greatest calls, including things like Hot Musket, the woman who called in a month, 5 weeks before the huge mumps, or what was it? Was it the mumps? It was, it was
measles.
Measles. Called in 5 weeks before anyone reported it, before CDC talked about it. She said, I'm a doctor in California. In my 25 years, working as a doctor in California, the most I saw was 4 cases in 1 year. And then at that time, she said, we're at 121 cases this year. And she said, we've contacted the CDC along with some of the other hospitals. This is something to happen. 5 weeks later, all of mainstream media was covering it. We got to it first because we got a call from you guys. The material going over the border, the dirty boom in Pennsylvania, I think it was. That was all tips from the viewers. You guys are all freaking awesome. You guys matter. That's why I encourage you all to start your own channels and do your own thing too, because every one of us matters, and that is the point of this show. Reports estimate that about 850 state captives, including jihadis, haughty wives, and children conceived in the caliphate, were in Kurdish custody before Operation Peace Spring. It says Turkey's invasion of Syria began last week and have since fled. Thousands of others, many captured in the caliphate, or the caliphate, capital of Raqqa, remain in Kurdish custody. So they're saying over 850 of these captives, including whole families, the kids, the wives, the husbands, the actual, T's, have all escaped because of this thing that's going on. So pretty crazy. Power lines may be at fault in raging fire near Los Angeles, officials say. Power lines are suspected to have been involved in a major wildfire that led evacuation orders for 100,000 people and was blamed for 2 deaths in Los Angeles County last week. It says the Saddle Ridge fire ignited by a 50 by 70 foot area beneath a high voltage transmission tower on Thursday. The Los Angeles Fire Department said late Monday afternoon other parts of Southern California were under rolling power blackouts to prevent fires sparked by power lines at the time. The cause of the fire remained undetermined, fire investigators said, but the electric utility serving the area, Southern California Edison, or SCE, confirmed to NBC News that it filed a notice with state regulators on Friday reporting that our system was impacted near the reported time of the fire. And you know what's even crazier is we covered the fact that all of these power companies, they're getting all of these kind of attacks and things that they're not reporting. It was the NERC annual report that actually said, and we showed you the documents for that over the last 9 years, we've had over 578 reports of different things happening to our grid, and only one was told to the public. They showed us what was reported to the DOE, Department of Energy, and what was reported to the public. And it was different by 577. So as far as what if they overwhelmed a super dry, humid area, what if there was a threat to do that? Maybe that's why they turned off their power. I actually have not heard anybody say that. What if they did this on purpose, or maybe over the last few years, this has been something that they've been trying to do. Hack maybe even just one or two, transformers, and then boom, start a fire that, goes all over California. Just a thought, open-minded, just thinking things out. But as far as this was Southern, right? Northern has the PG&E, which obviously had the big, huge Paradise thing happen, and they're going bankrupt because they had to pay out all this money. What I don't get is this power stuff that, basically we are dependent on. We have to pay, we pay for this stuff. How is this not, it's crazy. It's actually, they say separation of church and state, but I'm actually very surprised, but they've separated power and state. You would think on something that's a necessity, it would be run, kind of by the government. But, none of them are. Not like I want it to be, but it's just crazy that they could actually sue, go out of business. What would happen? Somebody else would buy it? I don't know. The fire in Selmar, in the northernmost neighborhood of Los Angeles, was still burning Monday night. Fire officials said it had grown to almost 8,400 acres and was at a 44% containment. So it wasn't even half done. Man. So even after all that, fire still started anyways. Russia's submarines are getting harder to find, and the Navy is sending more people to keep an eye on them. This is a true story, and we actually, from one of our sources, said that this is something that they're incredibly worried about. It says the Russian Navy, its submarine force in particular, is getting more sophisticated and becoming more active around Europe. The U.S. and NATO are aware of this, and the U.S. Navy is responding to a more complex environment with more robust command and control. The Russian subfleet is growing and growing more active, and the U.S. and its NATO partner are more concerned about those boats, and the rest of the Russian Navy are up to around Europe. For the U.S. Navy, that means more focus on the Atlantic, especially the North Atlantic, closer to the home base of Russia's Northern Fleet and the Barents Sea. Now, remember, we talked about the kind of competition that's going on up there too. Why are we sending all these people up there? Why is everybody sending their boats? Why are they trying to do these land grabs? It's weird to me. At the end of September, the Navy reestablished Submarine Group 2 in Norfolk, Virginia, 5 years after the unit was deactivated. Is anyone seeing this? T-Man was going to get rid of that carrier. I want to say it was the Abraham Lincoln, along with a couple of others. It was going to be totally deactivated, basically turned into scrap or be turned into a museum piece. And they reactivated it, and they said, we're going to fix it up and go another 20 years. His own budget said, we need to cut this out. And then something happened, and I want to say it was the Dex. If you're there, I think this was around the same time. It was the same day or the day after when the Russian submarine caught fire. The super secret submarine caught fire, got pulled out, and then at the funerals, they said that the men avoided a planetary catastrophe. Do you remember? Mike Pence got turned around. They did the Cobra. They did everything else. And they also said that the Lincoln was not going to retire that day or the next day.
Yeah, I know. I know Pence turned around, and the Cobra meeting and the European Union meeting,
and Russian Defense Ministry,
Soviet meeting,
and T-Man,
Russian. Yep.
And T-Man had a completely clear schedule. For the first time in months or whatever, T-Man had a completely clear schedule. His schedule was cleared. Mike Pence got turned around, which they then said, it was really weird. They said he never left the White House, and then he did leave the White House, and then he turned around. All this weird stuff about it because of some sort of meeting. And then in Europe, they did an emergency meeting. In Russia, they did an emergency meeting. And at NATO, they did an emergency meeting. Why? What happened? What was this planetary catastrophe that we'll never know about? With that being said, now do you see what they just said? We just reactivated a unit of naval submarines 5 years after it was deactivated. The reactivation comes just over a year after the Navy reestablished its second fleet, which oversees the western half of the Atlantic up the north. So we are reactivating and we are upping all of our military. Why? That is a question to ask. I don't know why I said ask like that. Ask. Just felt like saying ask. Ask. Does it bother you when people say asked you a question? It bothers me. All right. So if you guys want to help support us, obviously we are building a news agency, and there's only so much we can do. A lot of things popped up to us. We are trying to expand. We're trying to bring more people on the team. If you guys want to help us and protect yourself, I would highly recommend getting into an EMP shield. An EMP shield will protect you, your home, from a solar flare. It will protect you from an EMP from another country. What it does is it grounds the signal before it can fry your devices, and it can do it multiple times. This is how the DoD and Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, is actually, this company has been asked to help the actual U.S. government help with this grid strengthening. So this company is hand making these in Kansas. Each one of them is made by hand, and these machines are extremely advanced. And again, this is something that didn't exist before EMP Shield made this. This isn't just a surge protector. This is an EMP Shield. It was tested by military tested, military grade, and it is being used all over the country now to help strengthen our grid. You can actually get that same kind of protection for your house, and a commission from that helps us grow our channel. Here's the thing. We do believe that people are going to need these, and we believe we are not only being an affiliate and obviously trying to earn money for the channel, but we also believe that we are doing a huge service for everyone that gets these. And it's a good company. We believe in it. It is the world's first EMP protection technology for your house. You have one for your generator, for your car, for your ham radio. They make one for all sorts of different devices, but the main ones that you should actually really be concerned about are right here. You got the home, vehicle, generator, ham radio, solar, and RV. So these at marfooglenews.com/EMP are something that every house should have. They should make it a law and actually put some sort of taxes and put this into every home, because other countries are actually preparing for the same kind of things. And they don't have their people actually have to pay for these. But again, with this, they have teamed up with Klarna. So not everybody, of course, has the money for it. That company has gone and bent over backwards to help and make sure that everyone has one of these. What Klarna does is it requires no money up front. It's interest free, and it breaks the payments up into 4 payments. So basically anybody can get one of these. Especially recommend it for the vehicles. You can get $50 off of each device if you use the promo code MARF. Otherwise, just go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right. Yeah. And again, with that being said, American made, make sure to support it. We are trying to grow. We have run into things with this channel that I never thought we would run into. I mean, literally, I never thought in a million years, 2 years ago, that I'd be running a channel. Like, we're trying to actually build this into a news agency and not be a freaking, we're trying not to sell out. I've never asked for donations. I've never asked you guys to do anything. It's completely free. We are trying to do it the right way, but it's extremely hard. We have attacks from all different sides. I mean, we literally have to have stuff set up for lawyers and other things like this. These are things I never wanted to deal with. And it's been like a weighed scale. Like, do I want to continue this channel and deal with all this crazy stuff? And I'm going to do it regardless. So if you guys do want to help work with any of our affiliates, including, any of the people we work with, or you can always join Patreon as well. As I said, I don't mention that kind of stuff. I leave it up to you guys. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably from my views, from Dex's views, from anyone who helps the shows, including the mods. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. So if somebody says that you should drink 44 gallons of water in one sitting, you might want to talk to a doctor about that. I heard somebody died, actually, part of a contest. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. Then, of course, if you have not checked out Marfoogle News, the main channel, it is about to hit 145. Of course, it doesn't let us know that because it's all rounded off style. But again, we have gained a good 1,300 subscribers in the last week. So thank you guys. I think we just hit 91,000 before 2 shows ago. So thank you guys for all of you new folks that are here. Since you are new, let me just let you know, Marfoogle News has shorter edited videos, and it also has, of course, emergency broadcasts are done on the main channel to reach the most people. You can have your friends go to marfoogle.news, or you can go there yourself, or marfoogle.tv. It will bring them to a page that automatically basically puts it right there and goes, hey, do you want to subscribe? So it's pretty cool. And then, of course, if you have not joined the Foogle Family community in Discord, make sure to go to marfooglenews.com. Over 11,000 people are meeting state by state in person and actually talking prep and talking plans for when things aren't going north. So when everything hits the fan, make sure to hit in there. And if you are current or retired military, there's a private group that you have to be, no pun intended, vetted for. And once you get in, you have fellow military you can talk to. No one gets in there without being a vet. If you do false valor, you are kicked out of everywhere. So don't try it. If you would like to watch the Earthing movie, which is actually a movie about one of our the products that we actually affiliate with, and that's because Clint Ober is a good friend of ours. It is something that I personally believe in, Dex believes in, our families believe in now. I've turned many people, including my aunts and uncles, onto this thing. It's kind of the thing where once you do it, you tell everybody about. It's like, it's like the first time that I threw my back out, and my sister had this roll of CBD that she had from my aunt. She put it on my back, and I went from literally not being able to move, threw my back out on the floor, could not move, to standing up. This was the same kind of thing. I told everybody about it after that, of course, the CBD, and I've told everybody about the stuff that that this is. This is grounding and earthing, and it's so simple and it so makes sense. I don't understand why it wasn't around sooner in my life. I've had sleep problems my entire life. I've had digestive problems. I have serious health issues that I don't even talk about. This has helped with all of my symptoms. It's really absolutely amazing. What ground therapy is the one that I use is the mat and the universal mat. And essentially you put that on your bed, you sleep on it, and it's plugged into the wall. It grounds you. So take it as you want. You have to go look at the 25 medical studies behind it. It basically gets everything going. It's not like many of the other products you've seen when, over the years, like the magnetic bracelets to get your blood pumping and all that. It's not like that. We are meant to be grounded. We are electricity. Our hearts, our brains, our entire neural system is electricity sending stuff back and forth. It only makes sense that we are grounded on Earth. And it is essentially doing the same thing that you do with all of your appliances with that third little plug. Only all it does is that third little plug. These things are amazing. You will see, you sleep through the night. Even if you have just sleep problems by itself, you will get free shipping with the code MH, and you will help support this channel, help support any future growth in this channel, and of course, for us to protect ourselves against everything that's going on. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Again, we have no idea, too, if we ever get taken down, we're going to have to fight that as well. Marfia shirts. Again, this goes towards charity. This was something negative said to us, like that we're the Marfia. We turned it into a positive. And not only that, the money from these shirts are going to a charity. Again, they're we don't know to break it up into several charities. We still haven't gotten a solid vote. We don't sell a whole ton of them, so if you have one, it has to be approved by Teespring, because we want Teespring to just do it directly. I think they have, dozens and dozens and dozens of charities. One time I did Wounded Warriors, and then I got everybody yelling at me saying that Wounded Warriors did all this stuff bad or whatever. So that's why I'm a little bit more careful about working with charities. It turns out that a lot of charities have done a lot of crappy stuff. So not saying anything about the current, Wounded Warriors, just there was people in the past that were, I don't know the whole story with that. But again, got to make sure I say that too. But yeah, I didn't know that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you can go to marfooglenews.com if you want to check out any of the articles we just covered. Let's get to it. First off, SWAT for hire. Ezekiel 38 war setup herd Turkey has 50 tactical nukes. Us left there. Famine, no wheat, first time. EQ's sixth seal, Yeshua, help us. That was SWAT for hire. Amber B. Subaru WRX says, show your cat, LOL. It's funny because at my new place, the cat doesn't even come down here. I used to have my cat all the time crawling all over me. Amber B., I will make a personal note to do that tomorrow night. Susan Donahue, I'm starting to believe America was just a Freemason experiment. We were just the carrot. That's interesting. Or were we just the carrot? David Bruton says volcanic activity connects to asteroids and EQs. That's a super interesting statement there. Mark Sketch says, great to see you. I'm suffering bad PTSD episode at the moment. So glad to see you back and watch the show. Thumbs up to you, and I'm sorry that you're suffering through that. I know we have a lot of, in our military group, I know that a lot of people have reached out about that. Sammy Lee McMillan, thank you. I appreciate that. You can always write a message. Grizzly, that's a UH-60 Blackhawk, and those are fuel pods. I'm actually super surprised about that. And I believe he is talking about this. If anybody can confirm that. So let me go back to this. Boom. So what he says is those are fuel pods. I saw them up close, and they sure as hell looked like missiles or torpedoes or something. Okay, let me turn this up. I have never seen a Blackhawk with fuel pods like that. What the? I barely caught that one. Those were number 5 and 6, and they were about 125 feet off the ground. So he's saying that these are fuel pods. They were a different color. They had 2 lines here. I mean, they looked straight up like missiles. So I'm very surprised. If that's what they are, that actually makes me feel better. But I just don't see how that is. I've never seen, and I've seen a bunch of these. Also, you said UH-60, so let's look at that. I'm actually curious. UH-60 Blackhawks.
According to Wikipedia, the Sikorsky A-60 Blackhawk is a 4-blade, twin-engine, medium-lift utility helicopter manufactured by Sikorsky Aircraft.
No, these were not. And by the way, this is not the helicopter I saw. The helicopter I saw was much square. I just want to see, just for giggles. I don't think that video does this justice because the Apache heli. The one had square windows like this. And that's what it looked like.
Adam, another recommendation was an OH58.
OH58. Let's see. I'm sorry. I really, I would be the first one to be like, no, it was square. I'm telling you. These are not, no. I see what he's talking about of this. These are not what it is. Those look like fuel pods. If you go back to this video, that's what I'm saying. I don't even think military guys are seeing this right. These have little fins. They were missiles. I saw them plain as day. Like, this is a bad video, I guess. But if you zoom in, and what sucks is this is like 4K, but the compression is so... Oh, here we go. Let's do this to 4K. Look at this. Okay, so this is much clearer. And then it's getting put out by 1080p. Look at the shape on that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little fin. It's not a perfect cylinder. I mean, it straight up was a full different color than the helicopter. And then the I guess it's because it's directly from down below. They might all have a similar shape. But when I saw it, I mean, the thing is the phone has a super wide angle lens, so it looks much farther, but they had this boxy front. I'm telling you, I've never, I've seen a lot of helicopters. I've never seen the ones like that with those things on the side. It was not one of these older, I mean, the picture here, this is like a totally normal looking helicopter painted green. This thing had the square boxy windows. And it was like something out of, what do you call it? Like True Lies.
Hey, Adam, one more image is in the screener if you want to take a look at that. Somebody just sent me. They think it might be that.
Let's see. This one? Urgent, look at this.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I'm super surprised that nobody can. When I saw it, I was so amazed because I've never seen the ones with like the square windows and everything. Bam. That looks closer. Yeah, that actually looks. That kind of looks closer than that. And then look at that. Those look like. What are those, though? Are those fuel pods? Or those missiles?
No, those would be fuel pods on that. That's probably utility and long distance.
Yeah, I guess I could see that as being it. It does look a little bit wider in the body. But, yeah. Touche. I don't know, though. It looked a lot skinnier than that. And a lot more boxy. And
I say that chopper looks pretty fat.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know by my crappy video. I wish it was a brighter, or if it wasn't I wish I had my regular camera. And there was a crazy lady walking by that was like, blah, 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 one of those just like super crazy ladies. Okay, so we've got our first call. Let's see here. Ol Ryder is on the phone. We're going to get him on, and we will make sure to do so post haste. And thank you, by the way. Grizzly, I bet you are probably closer to right. It's probably that one in the middle. And those probably are fuel pods then. I've just never seen fuel pods with a freaking little fin. It looked like to me like something you would go over the water and drop in like a torpedo. But I guess there also would be shaped like that because of, what do you call it? Aerodynamics. That totally makes sense. Okay, let's see.
Are you ready?
I am totally ready. Bam. And Ol Ryder, you are live on Marfoogle TV. What's going on?
Hello. Can you hear me okay? I'm on speakerphone.
Yes, you're perfectly fine. So, Ol Ryder, you are here and you wanted to talk about sharks and past experience. Calling from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wow, cool.
Well, actually, I grew up in Nova Scotia, but I'm in Alberta right now. But I grew up in Nova Scotia, and my family was big in the fishing industry. And as kids, we caught sharks all the time. I've caught sharks bigger than my boat. And my uncle, they drug up one in one of their draggers that was, the jaws on the thing, they drug up a skeleton. And the jaws on the thing were bigger than a Volkswagen Beetle. And he has them hanging in his little museum in a place called Digby Neck in Nova Scotia. He has a little museum there with strange things they've caught in their nets and whatnot like this over the years in this little museum.
And this was from a dead shark?
One of my nephews runs it now. But, yeah, there's some pretty big things come up out of that ocean that a lot of people just don't hear about. Scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
So you're saying,
as a kid, we used to
can you hear me?
To fish all the time and catch sharks ourselves. And I've had I had a 14-foot aluminum boat, and I've had them hanging from bow to stern, hanging over. So I'm pretty used to sharks. Some of the crazy things we've dug up out of the ocean.
Just wanted to make sure you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I plugged in a new mic for the phone calls tonight, so I didn't know. As far as you're saying, basically the jaws, kind of the bones that we all kind of see in our mind is just the teeth and the jaw bones that everybody hangs up on their walls, or the museums have the huge teeth and jaws. You're saying that that's what he has on his wall, right? And it's from a dead shark?
Well, he has a set hanging from the ceiling that are, they would engulf a Volkswagen Beetle.
But that would be a megalodon, right? But that's a extinct.
Well, it could very well be. I mean, they're very large, very large. That's the biggest thing I have seen in that aspect, although I have seen whales that were massive wash up on the beach that I grew up next to.
Well, all I'm saying is if that was an extinct animal compared to something that was recently alive, to my knowledge, there's nothing that can swallow a Volkswagen Beetle that is alive that could have bit this shark. As far as the I believe I've seen the megalodon ones. Some of them could even swallow a small bus. That's how big the megalodon was, or supposedly was.
Yeah.
So that is very scary. What if do you think that there are creatures, big creatures in the ocean that we don't know about still to this day?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I've seen octopuses and whatnot that were alive that got tangled up. Like we had draggers. Like I say, my great-grandfather founded the Maritime Fishermen's Union for Eastern Canada. And we had all kinds of draggers, lobster boats, all kinds of stuff, whatnot like that. And I've seen squid, massive squid, octopus, all kinds of things that they've pulled up in the dragger nets. Now, most times they would take these and throw them back into the ocean, right? Because they're just too massive to put on deck, you see. So I've seen, like when they're out doing this, they used to take film that used to be Super 8 back then and everything. But see, this shark they pulled up, that was back in the late 50s. Like they were young men when they were out fishing themselves. And when I asked him about these, he had said there was still meat, sinew, whatnot hanging off of these. So, you know, it's not like it was an extinct thing that was laying on the bottom or anything like that. So it was something that was quite recently probably dead, like I would say within a few months. It doesn't take long in the ocean for things to deteriorate.
No, yeah. And I saw the original Japan, I think it was, that caught the half-decayed supposed Loch Ness monster, and they have these pictures, and they even have a national stamp that, you know, they put on mail that had this creature that was in the boat, and it was too big for them to bring on the boat, and it smelled so bad that it made everybody sick because it was decomposing. And the fact was that, no, it was not alive, it was dead, but the fact that it still had skin on it, and they pulled this up out of the you know, off the bottom of the ocean, that it was no more than just a few years dead or whatever else, and it was decomposing. So that would say that, you know, in this current generation, they have this Loch Ness monster out there, and it looked like a plesiosaurus, or not I think it's a plesiosaurus, the Loch Ness monster, what it's supposed to be. And it was kind of magical when I was a kid. When I saw that, I thought, man, that really could be, because the ocean is that large, and we still find stuff every single day. Well, thank you for your call, Old Rider, and appreciate your opinion, and I hope you call in again, all right?
Oh, well, yeah, and if there's one other thing, I was with some contractors. I'm in my early 60s now, and in the 90s I was in Bosnia, and I've read paperwork because I was a forward tactical engineer, and a lot of things that are going on right now are happening that I read in these papers, and some of these papers have scared the crap out of me. Now, they've burned up a couple laptops because of my channel, of things I've talked about the moon. I mean, I'm quite well versed in a whole lot of things that a lot of people just don't know about, and that I was even warned. And I told them, when I turn 60, anybody that'll listen to me, I'm going to tell them. So there's a lot of things, and I will call back in again. I've tried to call in before. I have a hard time from Canada here calling in. But, yeah, some of the things that are going on right now, I read this stuff back in the early 90s. So everybody got to keep their heads up and keep them on a swivel. You got to keep looking all the friggin' time.
Well, thank you, All Rider. I pulled up your channel. It says you have 203 subscribers. We're going to send the Foogle Fam your way. Yeah, so you have a great day, and I hope to hear from you again.
I've helped Love Mob a few people myself. I've been watching you for a couple of years.
Well, we're going to return the favor. So everybody head over to All Rider, and obviously if he's a Love Mob participant, we have to be a Love Mob giver. So, all right, well, thank you so much. You have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Up next, we have Shepherd's Voice. Let's see here. Shepherd's Voice is calling in, and again, that's Ol Rider, Olrider, and Shepherd's Voice. You're live, and you wanted to talk about Asgardia, and you have a video link here. What's up with that?
Oh, that's just the link to my page, just in, in case maybe pick up some more subscribers. But hello, Mark and the Foogle Family. God bless you all in Jesus Christ's name.
All right, perfect. So what do you think of Asgardia?
Well, I just, I've said this a couple times on the other calls that I made. They most definitely do know what's going on up there and why they're scrambling a bunch of things in space and getting things prepared is because, it's written in the Bible as in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the coming of the Son of Man is. And, the fallen angels and Satan and everything, they're getting ready to be, on their way here. The things that are going on in the world, the news and everything that you break is just like, a lot of it's biblical prophecy that's unfolding, when it comes to the Pop E and the things that he's doing. If I can maybe briefly give a little description of, like, in the Bible when it talks about the beast, the first beast that rises is a system. And it talks about, it has 10 crowns and all that in there. And it's talking about, it's a political system. So when you talk to NW, that has to come about. That's going to happen, and it's going to come about. And they've been preparing for this stuff for a while. They're scrambling this stuff up in space, and it even brought back to mind that one video that you showed of that one space station that they had up there with the, where we all were looking at it and thought, like, the top of it was a big satanic symbol. You remember that?
Yes, that is Asgardia. Yeah, that's their symbol is a weird symbol.
Okay, yeah. I call it an evil symbol. I'll just put it that way. But anyways, they're fixing for this stuff that's coming. As in the days of Noah, was when Noah and them were on the earth before the flood came. That's why God flooded the earth, was because the fallen angels left their place of habitation and came to the earth and went into women who had children, and they were giants. And that's why God flooded the earth, was because of all this stuff going on. Plus there was Sodom, and Gomorrah stuff going on, and all that good happy stuff. But then you asked the question, what we thought was going to happen or whatever, how things were going to end. And I just kind of wanted to, if I could for a second, point out in 2 Peter in the Bible, chapter 2, verse 10. Let me find it here. I think that's what I wanted. 10:14. Maybe I missed the wrong spot. Am I on the right page? Well, I guess I wasn't prepared. I'm on the wrong page. But it speaks in there of what's going to happen. And God is going to burn. The earth is going to burn. And it says it's going to burn in fervent heat, using all-consuming fire. There are other places in the book of Revelation, where it talks about, when he pours out one of the vials, that the sun is going to be poured out over the sun, and the sun is going to scorch men with heat, and that men are going to, blaspheme God because of the plagues and the vials and stuff that are being poured out. And I know a lot of people on here get a little upset with me when I talk about income, because a lot of people believe that there's a rapture. I've tried pointing out several times, that that's just like false doctrine. And I know some people are going to get upset, and I don't want to get upset. It's my duty to try to get the truth out there. So, your channel's about truth, and so, I'm trying to get some truth out there. I've pointed out Ezekiel 13, verse 20 a few times. King James Version, clearly states in there that Father is against those that teaches children to fly to save their souls, and he calls them false prophets and liars and such. But the bigger thing is if anybody, really studies in the Bible, like in Matthew 24, it talks about everything that's going on, like right now, that's unfolding before your eyes, and that there's going to be all this stuff that all of God's children are going to have to go through. And it says that those that endure to the end shall be saved. So, like in Matthew 24, if I can find it really quick, so I know I only got a few minutes here, and I try not to go over. I usually end up going over, but I don't want to do that here.
Well, we did go over, but I wanted to make sure you got your last point out.
Oh, we did already?
Yes.
Okay, boy, that 5 minutes goes fast, doesn't it?
I actually just took a vote on the whole 5-minute thing on Twitter, and it's kind of hard to say because, I'll talk about that after you're done with your call.
Yeah, it just seems like when you get going on something, it just seems like it goes by really quick. But anyways, in Matthew 24, it says, in the last days, they're asking him when it's gonna, when are these things gonna happen? It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. And I thought it was kind of nifty that you read that comment about the famines that were going on. Just goes to prove that the scripture, is actually going on. And then it says, all of these are the beginning of sorrows. And it says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. It says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. It says, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So, we're going to have to endure through all of these things. And then if and I'm out of time, but if you continue reading in Matthew 24, it tells you that once you go through all of this stuff, then it says that then after all this stuff, the tribulation stuff, then you will see Christ's return. It says it. So I just kind of want to point that out to people because I care about people, and I don't want to see anybody be deceived. And so, it's to me, it's a very big obligation to try to get the truth out there, to try to wake people up that, a lot of churches teach about a rapture and stuff. If you folks, look up look up the name Margaret McDonald. I believe her first name's Margaret. She came up with that.
And ma'am, I just want to be fair to everybody. We're going on 9 minutes, so we don't want anybody to drop off on the back end.
But I just love it. I love all people, so I just, I'm going to stop. I want people to do their research and to check it out because I really, I don't want to see anybody be discouraged.
I know a lot of people appreciate you for that. And thank you and amen to the call. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yep. No, God bless you and your family. And everybody have a great night. And God bless you all in Jesus Christ's name.
Well, thank you so much. And bless you too, okay? All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.
As for the vote, it's very complicated because I said, what if we have to be fair? The phone system cuts people off on the back end. It only takes 5 callers, I believe, or 4 callers. And if we go more than a certain amount of time total, then the back caller drops off and we have to get them back on. Sometimes we don't get them back on. So they'll wait an hour to get on. And if we go longer than 5 minutes, it cuts that person off. We can change it to take less callers and do longer calls. So I asked people and they said it depends. Most people, they don't want to hear more than 3 to 5 minutes from what I gather. But it's like, a lot of people said, specifically people mentioned like Mountain Man. They said, that guy needs 10 minutes. So how do we come up with a system for that? At 5 minutes, we do a beep and then people say 1 or 2, 1 for next caller, 2 for the next. That would work, but then it might offend the caller. You know what I mean? There's no right way to do it. So if you guys come up with a system, tweet it to me. Say, I'd love to figure out a way. I don't, trolls have even said, oh, he only cuts off Christian callers. I cut off everybody all the same. There was one in particular who was at like 14 minutes and I said, we gotta go. We're losing people in the end. And there's just nothing much I can do. I don't want to be rude to anybody. You guys have known this. If you watched me for 2 years, you know that I've only had like 2, maybe 3 instances. Even when I didn't have a screener, they were just blown away that I never had trolls call in. It's just, I guess maybe trolls didn't have the patience to get through. Anyways, let's see here. We've got Dennis. Dennis, you're live on Marfoogle TV. Welcome. What is going on?
Hey, Marf, how you doing tonight?
Good. So you're calling about AI and human race being expendable. First time caller out of Ohio.
Right. So it goes sort of along the lines with the whole Asgardia thing, or what's the word, I guess, that you're using for the Space Nation?
That you're correct. Asgardia.
Yeah. Right. So there was a movie, if anybody recalls, I was sort of talking to Dex about it a little bit, but the movie Elysium with Matt Damon, that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's all about the ruling class, right? Where they are setting up this network and they rule over top of the, with the space nation, and have no reasons for people anymore. I mean, that's where we're getting to, right? That's what you talked about, the AI, the technology, and trying to figure out what their end game is. So, I mean, when people start to sit back and start to really think about what the end game really is, I mean, they was there during World War II, right? I mean, they was killing off millions and millions of people because people were finding out the truth, and they was collecting up all the money, right? All the gold, property seizure. I mean, we look at the Democrats and we start to think about, seizure of property. We're talking about guns, right? Certain style firearms. In the hands of nobody, they're useless, right? But it's the people behind them. But that's a seizure of property. Well, if they start doing that with guns, what makes people think that they're not going to do it with homes when our country is $22 trillion in debt and actually going up by the minute?
And taking your home, like, on a bigger scale,
right, well,
what if they just take your property?
Right. I mean, that's what they're seizing with a gun, right? I mean, it's your property. It's private property. So how long does it go before, hey, because we're so much debt, now we got to come around. Remember back in 1931, there was a roundup of all the gold in the United States. You can only own a certain amount of gold.
No, I'm sorry. There's some rustling that distracted me there. You said what about the gold?
My bad. Oh, back in 1931, there was a order by the president to round up the gold. If you did not turn in your gold over a certain amount, you was either fined by $10,000 or 10 years in prison. So I don't know if anybody recalls that, but it happened before World War II. But do you think people were starting to find out then, and then that led into World War II? Because that's what they collected in Germany when all these companies called in the debt, and they seized all the gold, silver, property. I mean, there was a mass genocide, right?
So just to put in there, that was Executive Order 6102. It was a United States presidential executive order signed April 5th, 1933, and it was by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, quote, forbidding the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates within the continental United States. The order was made under the authority of the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, as amended by the Emergency Banking Act of the previous month. The limitation on gold ownership in the U.S. was repealed after President Gerald Ford signed a bill legalizing private ownership of gold coins, bars, and certificate. Wow, I didn't even know about that. To be honest, this is the first I've heard of that. That's crazy.
So we talk about guns. So what would they want to get out of the hands of people before they could do any type of seizure like that? Well, probably I would go, yeah, because as a soldier, as a former soldier, I'm a veteran. My brother's a veteran. I got a whole family, a list of veterans. But, they start stereotyping people, and one of the biggest things they said, well, veterans are going to be the biggest terrorists. Didn't Obama say that?
No,
Obama did say that.
Well,
veterans
very well could have been a quote of his.
Right, but anyway, so that the whole end game. So people start putting that together. But there's a couple different topics where people can look up and do their own little bit of research. But a couple of them is like Satan's Final War Plan by David Wilkerson. This was done years and years ago. Very good, about 28-minute speech, especially people dealing with the biblical side of things. David Wilkerson is a very knowledgeable man, but he sort of laid it out, what's going to take place and throughout what we see in society today. Also, there's one called JFK to 9/11. Everything's a rich man's trick. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it is one of the biggest, most deleted YouTube videos out there. I think Paul Alwood still has the original that's out there, but it was by, I think Conway was his name. He did about a 3-hour or 4-hour ordeal. I'm trying to look it up real quick just so I get the information
And
correct.
just to give you a heads up, we're at 6.5 minutes.
Okay, my bad. Paul, like I said, JFK to 9/11, everything's a rich man's trick. If anybody wants to know anything about the corporations and understand that who and what and where and why and the money, I think it's a very good film. It's about 3 hours. It walks you through who's who, and it tries to identify that. And you might relearn some history that you haven't been taught correctly. I don't know. It's an open-minded subject, I guess. I mean, when we talk about JFK, right? A lot of people say he was shot one way, and a lot of people beg to differ that was there on the ground that day. So,
Well, I
that's
agree
what
there.
I have, Mark. It was good talking to you.
Well, thank you for calling, and thank you for your sacrifice for our country. I appreciate your service, and make sure to join our group.
Right. Well, thank you.
All right, you have a good day. Salute. Again, if you are military like that gentleman, remember, we've got our military group you can join. I don't go in there. Occasionally, we will post a question if we want to know, if we want to get dirt, if there's something that is going on, and we usually ask our military folks to do something, but I don't hang out in there because I'm not former military. Neither does Dex. Sometimes we will post a question to it, but nobody else has access to that room except for you and your fellow, current or retired soldiers. One thing I thought about as well is for police, just, regular police. There's a lot of men and women out there, good police, that are doing a good job. I know I have people that I actually do like their channels, like High Impact Vlogs. I don't think he hates all police. I think somebody said that the other night. I said, no, he doesn't. I think there's some really bad apples out there, and I think he doesn't like those ones. But again, I don't know all of his views on that, but I do. I've had cops, that I've seen save lives. Hello, you are live on Marfoogle TV. JT, what is going on?
Hey, how's it going, Marv?
Good. So can I ask you here? It says that you are talking about AT&T, EMS, and 5G generators moving around. What's up with this?
Oh yeah, okay. So the first part of that, FirstNet. FirstNet is for the EMS, Echo Mike Sierra. So for the first responders, what it does is it allocates the bandwidth for, pages or anything else like that, an emergency situation that we would expect, like the past fires that had happened and all this stuff in California, right? What goes along that's funny with this, and I don't mean funny, but funny because of what's been going on with the legislation in California and people talking about, oh, we don't need ham radios. Those are things of the past. I was chatting with my, my quote-unquote boss this past week, and he is a firefighter in the state of Minnesota, and he's also a part of the new FirstNet, which basically allows them to get rid of their pagers they used to carry for fire calls and things of that nature, or if it was SWAT, those types of things, it gets pushed to their phone where it allocates that bandwidth for that. Well, having him say, oh, ham radios are a thing in the past and the bandwidth and yada yada and everything going on in California, I looked at him and I said, you realize if we have a substantial event where that gets knocked out, even after towers get knocked out, ham radios with battery backups are kind of the last thing that we would use. And that's what's worked in the past, especially in wartime. And you just kind of, you look into it, glazed eyeballs, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So AT&T's version of this FirstNet with commercials, you kind of have seen it over the past maybe 4 months get rolled out.
Yeah.
So this is AT&T basically ownership of a low bandwidth of what's not actually 5G, but is being advertised as their version of 5G, where they allocated between their frequencies to use it as their version of 5G.
Now, how would they? I don't get. I mean, that's just crazy talking about no ham radios. Period. I mean, like a future without.
Believe me, but with our past experience of what you started with, and what's her face, and talking about EchoNet and getting the experience and actually knowing it and knowing what I know in the hospital I used to work at. Hello, top floor. When HTF happens, that's the last resort there for communication. And you had a battery backup.
Well, so, and what you're talking about is how we did the intro, whatever they're saying, Project Zephyr. Should we cover Project Zephyr? I mean, it sounds like this is something that's like some scary stuff. I mean, this is the Internet of Things. This is everything that's coming together.
Oh, you're going to love the last part of this conversation inside of 5 minutes. Dex, I know, is laughing on the other end. I believe you guys should, actually. Yeah. I think you should look into Project Zephyr, especially. And I don't know too much about it. As I said before, I'm government contractor. We'll leave it at that. As bad as I want to start a YouTube channel, we're going to leave it at that.
Okay, so what do you think about all that? All this stuff?
All of it. Well, the MSM, I think they're trying to feed us misinformation as usual. And everybody inside of the Foogle Fam is seeing exactly what's happening on the ground, especially the long-haul truckers. Just from me moving around inside of the metro area in Minnesota today, I saw what I can refer to the best of my knowledge, of which was weird. It looked like power inverters on the back of a flatbed. And let me do some math here. 32. And what would have been in the shape of, look like transformers, 4 plugs with those outdoor flaps on each side, followed by an actual generator on steroids that would have gone along with this on a commercial truck. I forgot the name of it, and it was going in towards the city. It was not a commercial setup. It was nothing like you would have seen before. When something sticks out to somebody, you're going to look at it weird. I didn't have a time to get a picture because I was driving by myself, but, it was a WTF moment, thinking, like, what the heck? Never seen anything like that before.
And they're shipping these things all over the place.
Absolutely. These were towards a smaller scale. So power inverter that was the same size of what a regular generator, commercial generator, would have looked like. And there were about 32 of them on the back of this flatbed, followed by a generator on steroids. So a very large one. And they were not militarized in any way, but they sure as heck could have looked like it.
Well, so over the last 6 months, they have beefed up the generator companies. We got that one call, and that ended up being a lead to something so mind-blowing we couldn't talk about it. The woman called in and said her husband had been working at a wire company that produces wires and, cables for things. And he had been working, it's normally a 9-to-5 job. They produce wires for power companies all over the place. And he had been working nights, had been working 20-hour shifts, working through the night because they were completing orders for all of these power companies for whatever reason. They said something was going on, and then we ended up talking to other folks. They are preparing for some sort of mass event, and we've been talking about it, but nobody is hearing us. I mean, I know that a lot of the Foogle family members hear us, but we're talking about they are preparing for something. We got the videos. We showed you all over the country. They're shipping around generators and transformers. And what was it? Matt in Arizona showed us. They had the old transformers, huge ones. You're talking about the ones that are in the actual power companies. New ones sitting
Yep.
right beside unhooked. This is going down,
Yep.
folks. That's my opinion.
Basically, what I could describe these types of power inverters is if they were set in somebody's front yard in the neighborhood, they'd be able to plug into them, and this large generator would have been able to take the load. And that's why it stuck out to me, because automatically my brain was like, okay, this makes sense in a creepy way. And I'm not, and you know, it's not like a construction site, because these things were big.
Wow. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before you go, JT?
Yes. Dex and I were talking about, and I wanted to mention to people, and I want to be strict on how I mention this. On the back channels of where everything gets mentioned, there's a thing called Tor. This is where people refer to the dark web or the deep web. Those two are very different things. And if people know how to run the software, it's called Tor. The Onion router, and in 1997, this is kind of how the Navy and the government wanted the internet to run in the first place when it first came out. That's why they call it the deep/dark web. And that's why people run VPNs and all this other fun stuff. You can get in trouble to doing this, but if you go into Google and search .onion sites, that's fine. Don't click on the frickin' links. If you do and you know what you're doing, this is where they refer to white and black hats, hackers, and all this, and where they get the information. This is where everything in the back channels is going across the lines. Facebook has a site that's run on this freaking network. And so is a Bitcoin site. I'm not familiar with which one. It's not Binance or something like that, but there's a Bitcoin or blockchain site that's on there.
So we have somebody that helps us do the dark web. I don't do it on my personal computers. Tor basically accesses.
Nor should you.
I have to warn you guys. What he's saying is you need to, by the way, that's why we do our warning as well. Research and do your own research on this. The dark web can get you not only in trouble, people have died just by going onto the dark web and going into the wrong room. That's how scary the dark web is. The dark web is...
This is how people disappear.
Thank you for putting it that way. It is so... I've just got butterflies in my stomach thinking about some of the things I've heard. We've heard some stories in even a couple of the mods that I've talked to that have had an experience. They went into a room and it's like they accidentally ended up in a room where it's like those other people in that room are like, that person's not supposed to be here. What's her IP address? Where does she live? She just saw something she shouldn't have saw. That's how crazy the dark web is. That's why I don't mess with it on my computers. We have people that are good at it, that know how to protect themselves, that know what they're doing. RGL Harris says, no, thank you. I'm good. There's serious information about our military, all sorts of stuff. There's things that would blow your mind and things that we can't even talk about here on the show. If it's going to personally affect all of us, then I would figure out a way to tell you guys. But what he's saying is, do your own research on, because it is a very scary and touchy subject for many.
Exactly.
I would like to talk to you off air, JT.
Are you going to be in the Discord later?
Yes, I got to talk to somebody right after the show, but most likely, yeah. In my Discord, right?
I'm sure I know how to do that. Do I just click on your name?
No, just the Marfoogle News group with 11,000 in it. If you're in that one, there's voice rooms, there's all sorts of stuff. So,
okay.
Anyways, you can message me in there too. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you, and love to talk to you some other time. All right. Have a good one.
No problem, bud.
All right. Okay, and then up next we have David. David, you are live on Marfoogle TV, and of course you have you want to talk about the asteroid passing, seismic and volcanic activity affects the magnetic. Explain yourself.
Well, for some reason, I'm having difficulties now with the things that I save, and my internet's messing up. But what I do is I make a living off of weather, which has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But I've noticed that with volcanic activity and seismic activity, that asteroids that pass by, sometimes they pass by and we don't notice them for days. But if you go back and you connect them, all of a sudden we have volcanic activity and seismic activity. And it has to do with the magnetic field around the Earth or something, in my opinion.
So just to be very clear about what you're saying. So you're saying are you saying that you do believe there is a connection between the weather and the seismic activity, and then somehow with the magnetic field as well?
Yes, of course. And for some reason, since I got a hold of Dex, nothing is working. But I'll give you a little example, because I'm not super smart. I don't have a photographic memory, but on the 14th, a small asteroid flew by at like 0.32 lunar distance. Since then, we've had a volcanic eruption in Indonesia. We've had 6.4 earthquake in Philippines, and Saunders Island has gas plumes coming out of it. And that's a small example. There's way more connections because you have to follow it for a long time to see it.
So what you're saying is, so I pulled up a huge 111-foot asteroid to skim past Earth today, which was 2 days ago, on October 14th, at 22,000 miles per hour. When it passes by, it triggers some things. So maybe possibly because our gravity or the contents in it flying by, you're saying that it could possibly trigger some of our magnetic field reaction, kind of like a smell going by Earth, and it's making it nauseous, or, I know that that's not how it works, but that's what you're saying. It passes by and it triggers some things in the Earth, like volcanic activity and things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, of course. And I mean, you could even get more in depth with it, with the magnetics. I mean, with Brazil losing power, Venezuela losing power. I mean, it's all tied together.
Well, and they make us think that, those were, cyber attacks. It is a good point. What if we were open-minded? What if they made us think that because they're actually covering up that, our power is going out naturally?
Well, I mean, they're covering up that we can't control the world or the universe or what happens to us. But when all the power goes out in Brazil and countries around it, where all the power goes out in Venezuela, that's not a cyber attack. It's a magnetic field that is disrupted by an asteroid that passes by that we don't notice, or they don't tell us that we notice.
Well, I think it's a very interesting. I think it's a very interesting theory, actually, and I think people will agree with you already. There's already a couple people that said yes. As far as the magnetic field, I would see where somebody could hold that theory.
Well, I'm not talking about the magnetic poles. I mean, if you want to talk about sudden stratospheric warming over Antarctica and causing things in other areas to act up, that's a whole different story. But I've just noticed that every time we start having volcanic activity there was one that started to erupt in the ocean. And like I said, since I got on the phone with Dex, all my internet has gone nuts, and I don't have it wrote on paper.
Well, I apologize for that. But you know,
It's your fault.
it is our fault. It's because of our Project Zephyr connections.
Well, no, yeah, I understand.
Yes.
But I mean, and that may not be a major thing. Just I've always been I've just got intrigued with, as we report asteroids that are getting closer and closer, we're starting to have more volcanic activity. Does it have to do with the sun or whatever? I mean, there's a whole lot of things that come to play, but I've just noticed that when they report asteroids flying by, we get more and more volcanic activity and earthquakes.
Well, David, is there anything else that you wanted to add in here before you go? We're about 7 minutes in.
No, I'm good. That's all. I didn't even really want to be on air.
I hear you. Is that your wife in the background laughing?
Yes.
Well, say hello to your wife. Well, thank you guys for watching, and thank you for your call, and you are appreciated. There's something about me that says, you know, I get what you're saying. I think magnetically too, there's something going on. But who knows? You know, somebody actually just said, you know, there is no gravity. We all have such different views. I think it's awesome that we can all sit around and actually talk about it and chat. And this is the whole point of the channel. So thank you for calling in, David. You guys have a blessed night, and your wife, just like every other wife, laughing at us. Say hello for me, okay?
All right, you too.
All right, good night. They're all going to laugh at you. It's my wife every day. All right, let's see here. Dex. Man, oh man. Those calls.
I'm here.
So, like I said.
And Zephyr's not running at the moment.
Oh, shoot. Did you shut it? I mean.
That's funny. I sort of chuckled.
Well,
but on a serious note, though,
don't go to the
previous caller.
By the way, don't go to the dark web. Everybody's talking about it. People say, "Hey, that's for the bad people." Do not go there. You know, that's like something at your own risk.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The previous caller talking about Tor and Tor browsers and stuff like that. It does have a legitimate use for anonymity if you're trying to use it, but it is completely a place where a lot of bad things go on the internet, and you don't want to necessarily get in there if you don't know what you're doing.
I think that
steer clear. I haven't been in for ages, so.
I think that people that, if they don't realize, if you think that all these accusations towards Hollywood and towards the elite, you think that that's all like, you know, fake and like conspiracy, maybe then you should go check that out, because there are things that are going on underneath I mean, you're sitting next to people on the bus, next to people at stoplights that are involved in the most wretched things you've ever seen. Like you don't even know who's next to you. There's monsters all around us, and they aren't public; they're private.
Yep.
Well, Dex, thank you for screening tonight.
Yep.
Thank you for doing an awesome job. Great news tonight, obviously, and we are back, and we are going to continue to be back and forth. And everything. If you are a Dex fan, press 1. If you are an Adam fan, press 1. And if you are a fan of the show, press 1. Boom. You see how I did that? There are no options.
That's right.
I herded everybody in the same direction. There you go. That's how you do it.
God bless everybody.
God bless you, Dex, and God bless everyone here. Now it is time officially for not an outro, not a shout-out,
But a shoutro.
A shoutro is where I say thank you to each and every person in the chat room. Stick around if you want to be a part of it, or run away very, very fast if you don't. Thank you all for being here. Much love to everyone. Foogle Fam, stay strong and have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared till the music comes on. There's nothing like waking up to a Foogle in your cup. Have a good night. Great show, Dex. Great show. Absolutely stupendous. Hey. 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 Hello, Reba Snoffel. Hello, Murray Horner. Hello, Barbara Charles. Hey, what's up with you? Cindy Jones and Dinky Morris, Sean Ross and that Tricolores. I've got that Kathy Lawrence, I got that it's Kate and Swiftbird, Hitbird. Oh, really wanna go with the poor man's poison Neumann? Oh, now it's all about the Boyman. Now I've got that Franny Cascadia with the K-Boo. And the Joy, just another Zen. And the big bugs, Ashley Woodward Camp. And the heavens calling and damp on the ceiling with Rhonda Hellig. I'm about to kick it with Mary Sharp and Shirley and a Carrie and a Robert Arias, Gail Firestorm and the rest of the Wade, Wide Awake One and the Blue Alien. Hello Patrick Brew House, Heidi Gregory. Oh, what's up, BOD? What's up, rest of you guys? I've got to fix my sound. 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 Jules Mark Davis, CR5, Kathleen Beaver, and Louie. Be kicking it with Joshy Bear. If you haven't checked out his channel, go there. Hey, Billy Atkinson. Hey, Patrick Lee and the rest of Dex J's little friends. Robert Jones, let's make amends. Craig Superia, Sergion, got that Sherry circled up purple. Sunny Garden and Spooky Fast, Wandering Foogle and Cries Weaver. K-Boo and that Charlene Sampson, gotta eat it now, we get that dim sum. Edge on the bio, Red Dino Valley and April Osborne. Hey, got a grinning owl. The Cheyenne Offenkins and that original General. Gotta eat it down. Break it down, Marf. I will. Break it down, Marf. I will. Hello, Linda Wolf, be kicking it with Joanne and the Hendersons and the CJ Blaze and the Melissa Johnsons. Everybody's kicking it with Patrick Mon in the McBrew House. In the McBrew House. And the EMC and the Tenny and the Jenny C with the Shark Rock one. Now with the Mike and the May, David, Rico, French Files, and the Regina, Trisha, Richard, Borba. Everybody wanna kick in the Torda. Now I got the Torsa of a OC Bobby and the Watchman Observer and the Elma Chow Smith. Gonna kick it with the Tret, isn't it me? Well, thank you very much, Rose Vanessa. I appreciate that. Jane Blythe, I appreciate that as well. Old Rider. Angel 1111 H. LL Shadow Fury. The show wouldn't be anything without you. And make sure to go to marfooglenews.com if you want to read any of the articles that we have shown you here tonight. Karen, Coy, and Teresa Kay say hello, and now I say goodnight. Robert John. William, Sarah, Con, and stuff over right here, rise on. Hey, Bonnie, hold on. I've got the Melissa Johnson, Reba Snorkel, and all my friends when they hang out with the EMC and David Bruton, and we all are old medics. Who's the man, the Brian, and the turtle, flying turtle, Japan? Shastina Shoutro is nothing like Yo-Joe and Hey Man, Patty Chapman, and all the K-Boos with here and there's on their grinning owl's face. Billy Atchison, good night. Thank you, Dake Viking, Shauna May, Susie Q, Appalachian Stackin', The Flying Turtle, Japan, Robbie Stewart, Jackie Sicilian, Mike W, Cheryl Berger, Lisa R. Hull, Jolanta Malek. Does that name sound like a medicine you take for heartburn? Yes, it does. Regina Royal doesn't sound like a hotel. Angie Russell sounds like a not going there. Make sure to check out our affiliates if you have not already. We need your support. Appreciate you much. Honey and Maya, bringing all your friends. Got to sit it all the way down to the end. Lily Orchid wants that flower in the friends. And Patrick Lee and the crazy Mexican. I'm gonna be riding and Brenda suffer bad guy. Cindy Jones and the RJ and the CJ Blaze and the Joe and Henderson, and I really wanna sit back, listen to that and listen to Johnny Contrell, and everybody says we going down to that hell on the Foogle Stephen Diaz and the Christine Lay hair classified for 20 got a lighted up for Siamese for me, but now we sit with down and we high. We're flying Brian. I'm Bonnie Mullen, Patrick Lee, Reba Snapple, Sherry, Zerka, Blondie, 93245 Beverly Hills, P-Cabs in that Rob Stewart and Arizona real estate Larry. Gotta bring in also Harry, Superman, sweet and good night from Tinky Morris. Oh, the Horace, Fringe Files. Oh, Medic. Yeah. Ow. I've got my finger on the action, I'm on the lever. Gotta bring it down and say hello to Trevor. Daytona dreaming, going down and down to see man. Gonna put them shoes of cement on his feet. I've got that Trisha, Tracy the fan. I've got that David Rico in the man. I've got that Rosie. I tell you no. Christina Leha. Yeah. Remember, the person next to you might have your back someday. So be nice to the surroundings. They might be your protection. Caffeine Soldier, thank you for coming. It's because of you this show exists. All right, everybody, thank you for being here. Good night. See you tomorrow. Faith is my jam. You know what's my jam? You're my jam. Faith. Faith? It looks like we have overwhelming support for Boom Boom. So, it's time for the Boom Boom. Boom, boom, boom! Bring it up on now! Is that Christina Legerman? Bring it right on down. Nobody knows about the learning outdoor one. Debbie Bomber, working with the quarter. I really want to go and record ya. Maybe do it. Down stiletto. Big calves. Your shadow is scared of your son with the Linda Wolf staff by his horizon. They be killing me like she's killing me, and now the Marvin fun time. A boom boom. Gary Ray, Patrick Lee, Regina Roy, and David Reek. Got them Matt in the AZ. Spotty Love and the Mr. C. Susie Q and the rest of the crew. Dictor J Man's play. John Nelson Man. Boom boom. Welcome, Andrew Cotita, Matt Cook, Jana Rutherford. Thank you for subscribing and welcome to the family. There is no heart button. Boom, boom. Calicari Ray, Angel Golita, Puta Larissa, hey señorita. Whoa, got that Charlie, Van and Roll. Regina Roy on a sunny garden. I got to eat it up, and now we bought it with that Raymond flag. Gonna bring it back, and I do not brag. With the morning, and the Glen last night, and we keep on going on the 4 all nighter. Everybody really wanted to have a fun time tonight, and I'm glad you guys all came out. Because without you, it would be nothing. Just to explain, you guys are what makes this a show. Now, Lynnwood, Foogle, you the way. I can't everywhere. You the way. And the Kelly, you the way. You the way. You the way. Oh, you the way. What do I say? so much. Linda Way, thank you so much. Glenda Snyder, thank you so much. And Patrick Lee, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Foogle for life. Cable, YouTube, hey you, YouTube, hey you, knew that we were happy. Daddy, 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 done 8:30. Daddy, 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 done 8:30. Top fires, top fire, horizon, just see you way up. Uh-oh, it's time for the end of the show. And this is where we go. Good night. You know the Jamaican Muff is right back here now. He is a 104-point Muff man. You know the da-da-da-da-da, it's 30, you know. I got the David Bruton, man. And that Pamela Kelly. Yeah, and boom, that's how you say it, man. It's all about the Patty Chapman, man. Patty Chapman, no, let's go on home, man. Bring it right back down now. And be the ball for the man now. We the rich Baba and the Shutterburger and the whole rest of the crew now. A piece out, says carry right, K up now. 1, 2, this side, and we do it all night. Patrick Lee says it just right. Susie Q and the rest of the crew, thank you for being all true to your roots. Thank you for going in if you did wrong. Say sorry and you are forgiven. Tracy and the fam. Soleno and a man. Star and a rhyme. A rock and a run. Linda Way coming by. Oh yeah, yes. Just saying Rasta Mob doesn't really hear. And now they gonna call me a learning one terrorist. I don't really wanna say what the Rebus says. On the Rebus novel and everybody heck. What the hell do we think? Ah, now the little wolf man with the wolf man on top of the car, just like Michael. Hi. That's of course a reference from Teen Wolfman. You know. Now he's a bit shaky, but still my favorite actor. Jennifer Ackerman, you just got here. Jennifer Ackerman. So you just come for the outro apparently. I guess we'll start over. I don't know if DVR still works. So what did we do again? Initiating. Beeper, beeper, beeper. Initiating Linux operations for the beginning of the show again. Beep, 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 beep. Initiating. Hey, ho! No one comes late to Marf's, man. Everybody give her a pat on the back and say you're welcome, man. Or woman.
I am looking for attention. I don't need the extra tension. Cause I'm in the fourth dimension. Trapeze high in suspension. Now don't bother with the haters. Cause they all be imitators. Real life manipulators. Skip it back up and see you later. I like me for me. I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me. I am who I wanna be. Don't need no apologies. Just peace and serenity. No to the jealousy. Wonder Woman identity. I like me for me. I like me for me.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Shastina.
You know how that shit feels. You think it's out of space, but I know that it is real. Sipping Chapo Chico, La Coca Puerto Rico. Lick it dance waterfall, anywhere that we go. I am looking for attention. I don't need the extra tension. Cause I'm in the fourth dimension. Trapeze high in suspension. Now don't bother with the haters. Cause they all be imitators. Real life manipulators. Skip it back up and see you later. I like me for me. I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me.
Lex, don't play those games. Okay, we only restart once during this outro.
No to the jealousy. Wonder Woman identity. I like me for me. I like me for me. Na 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 na.
Special welcome to Jana Rutherford, Matt Cook, and Angel Cotita. I just like saying Cotita. 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 No offense, but it's like Rutherford. It's just not as fun as Cotita.
I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me. I am who I wanna be. I like me for me. I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me.
Because you should always like you for you. You matter. You're beautiful. Your voice matters. We will see you tomorrow.
Wonder Woman identity. I like me for me. I like me for me. Gotta prove it to myself. I like nobody. Gotta prove it to myself. I like nobody. Gotta prove it to myself. I like nobody. Gotta prove it to myself.
Got to prove it to myself and no one else. That's our motto. With that being said, have a wonderful and beautiful night.
Pussy nigga, you ain't hanging with the goat yet. Reaching for the dapper, leave him hanging like a coat check. Whoa, I been really moving, nigga, no rest. Wrist on both legs, big dog, roll legs. Whoa, I ain't answering the call, so you fed up. Too busy getting cheese, getting cheddar. Never fade, I'ma run this shit forever. The ship is sank if I don't keep the shit together. Bet my ex mad, cause a nigga get bad. Try to shoot a shot and you gon' have to hit the step back. Off of Staten Island till I die, nigga, rep that. I'ma hit a place and tell him I went on a meth lab 3 like, whoa. Shorty used to dumb me till she saw me hit the glow. If you ain't bringing nothing to the table, listen, no. Hating on another nigga winning, let it go. I just made it work for me, gotta make it.
Word!
Shit wicked, shit wicked. Look at how you niggas living, this is different. Oh yeah. The shit wicked. I don't need no handouts, cause a nigga really get it. Oh yeah. I just made it work for a nigga. Make it work for a nigga. Gotta make it work for a nigga. Shorty make it work for a nigga. Shorty make it work. Why you feeling for the
Have a wonderful night.
poolside, Betty clothes, real fox, alley ho. See you always trying to stunt on niggas.